Of your examples of oppression or people going through struggle were all from the black community.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but this reads off to me as jealousy. This man is jealous that one racial group's problems is being talked about and not his own, and they're being talked about from the people at the highest point of the racial hierarchy. I feel like a lot of people of color feel that white people don't talk about the issues in their racial group enough, the issues that, we can all argue white people have caused. And I feel like when they hear white people talking about our issues, it pisses them off because they feel like their issues aren't represented in the same nature. But instead of being mad at white people, they're mad at us. And they're mad at how active and loud we are about our problems.
King, you hear me?
Cause like I gave you up.
Is that the only one that came up with that girl? Cause that's the only one that came up?
No, I have the playlist of all the videos.
No, I'm saying for that particular video.
Yeah, this the video.
That's the only one that came up with that girl speaking?
I mean, I think this is the beginning of the video.
All right, go ahead, because that one. All right, continue it.
Got you.
Except when they need us to act for them, because they feel like our tactics work. Because then they pull that POC unite. My thing is, these groups need to learn that they will never get anywhere hating on black people. And they will never get anywhere trying to kiss the YT man's ass. If you feel like your problems are not being talked about, be louder. But don't get mad at one specific group because they're doing what they have to do to be seen.
I think you build a foundation of your speech on working against identity politics. Yet, I think so conveniently, and it was kind of ignorant, that all of your examples of oppression or people going through struggle were all from the black community. So if you could so conveniently use one specific ethnicity to kind of propagate your ideals, is that not identity politics in itself?
You allege I only spoke about what black people face in this society and that that's a form of identity politics. In fact, it is not. First of all, I spoke about the Bangladeshi women in the sweatshops sewing.
Hey, King, stop the video. Oh, yeah, stop the video. Now, just to get an update on what's happening here, this is an Indian guy, and he's upset that she's talking about the black community, right? Like a lot of Indian people. Well, what they don't understand is that they haven't been in America. They problems or whatever they problems have, it does not American problem. They may have had problems within their own Indian nation, which a class act or being oppressed by a class money-wise, but not according to American standards. So why people are talking about, we're talking about the black Americans that have suffered in America. So now this white lady, this Edomite is going to check that Indian. Like a lot of them, because he's upset that our problems are being talked about. Now watch how the white woman checks him. Continue with the video.
Our clothes. I talked about women who've been forced to have children against their will in that form of enslavement. I spoke about trans people who have faced over 500 laws this year introduced or passed, not to mention the terror that's enforced against them. I spoke about what happens on this planet as a whole as it is heating due to the destruction of climate change driven forward by the system of capitalism, imperialism. So if you missed all that, I'm not surprised if you also missed some of the scientific undergirdings of it. But to be fair, I will walk through it again. I speak about black people in a very pronounced way when we come to revolution because the exploitation, the enslavement, the dehumanization, and the degradation that's been inflicted on black people is foundational to this society and this system. And that is scientifically a fact. It's evidence-based. The wealth of this country, the territorial reach of this country, the military strength of this country got its roots in American slavery, the chattel slavery of black people. And then on that foundation, the ideology of white supremacy, of black inferiority was propagated. It was made a bedrock of one of the glues of this society, and it has been woven into this society ever since. The forms of oppression have changed. It took a civil war to end slavery, but then what happened? After not even 10 years of Reconstruction, where black people were brought into some rights within this country, that was betrayed. The troops were pulled out, and black people were re-enslaved in new conditions, slavery by another name, sharecropping for generations, serf-like conditions enforced through terror, lynch mob terror and violence. And the troops were pulled out to go and finish off the extermination of the native peoples. Okay? Then another generation comes up in the face of changes in the U.S. economy and the need to pull black people out of the South and into the factories. Black people stood up and they waged struggle in a civil rights movement. They gave their lives. They stood up. White people stood with them. They went down from the north and stood with them. This upended Jim Crow. It was heroic that many did just unbelievably brave things. And then that was dismantled. And what did this system come back with? A new Jim Crow of mass incarceration that has ground up millions of black lives. So when I tell the story, this is science, when I tell the story of a black woman in Harlem with binoculars next to her window watching in terror every time her 12-year-old, 13-year-old son crosses the street because of what police do every day to black people, every fucking day. When I talk about that, that is a particular that concentrates a huge reality that is defining to this country. And that's scientifically true. It's evidence-based. It's woven into the fabric of this society. It's culture, it's economics, and it's global reach. And so we could debate. If you want to argue that's not scientific, bring some evidence. If you didn't hear the science, then please. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Tell me that it's a marginal thing. Tell me that to talk about that, I'm pimping off of it. I'm acknowledging reality. You want to say it's not defining to this country, that we shouldn't talk about it?
I want you to talk about it.
I am talking about it, yeah.
Okay, so just the fact that something actually happened or is true,
Yeah.
doesn't, anything that's empirically based is not science, right? It's like saying anything that's true is scientifically, like, it's science. It's not. So I understand.
Okay. Okay. Let me help. Oh, go ahead. Maybe he should get the mic.
I understand that your point is I want to be building arguments based on reason and rationale.
Here, take the mic just so it gets.
I understand that your point is I want to be building arguments on reason and rationale, but that doesn't mean that it's scientific, and that doesn't mean that it's false or wrong.
Okay.
I'm saying that the validity of your argument doesn't increase by throwing the word science out. Is all I'm trying to say.
Okay, so I would argue that science actually can be applied to all of reality, not just narrowly in engineering or in the natural sciences. No, this is important. What you're raising is widely felt, it's widely believed, it's widely taught, I'm sure, on this campus, that you can apply science to medicine, to nature, to the natural world. There's the hard sciences, but when you get to social reality, it's just opinions, it's experience, whatever. No. You can apply science to everything. Everything that is part of reality, which societies are, can be analyzed scientifically. All science means, in a universal sense, is it's an evidence.
King. So now you see the white woman checking this dude. These nations this is why, listen, man, we have to be able to check these nations, right? These nations do not like us. And now it's a goddamn white woman, an Edomite, is checking him and letting them know, how dare you come as an Indian and think and try to put yourself in the problems that you're living off of the benefit of us. Whatever they get, these East Indians and them, they get off of the benefit of what they call minorities. Fighting. Our people fighting and voting and getting them. So he got some damn nerves to try to put himself and try to make us seem like our problem ain't significant. The scriptures say, since the days of John the Baptist, the kingdom of heaven have suffered violently. Since the days of John the Baptist, over 2,000 years ago, the kingdom of heaven, which is us. This is why the scriptures tell you that when they ask, the Israelites ask the Mashiach Yahushua, will thou restore the kingdom back to us? because they knew that we are the kingdom of heaven, right? They knew that. So we have caught the hell in America. Daniel 7:18 tells you, and the white woman is schooling them on this, but Daniel 7:18 tells you they have worn out the saints. Who was the saints? Psalms 147:19. Somebody get me that, King. Psalms 147:19. Who are the saints of the Most High? The saints of the Most High is us. We are the saints. So when it says they wore out the saints, it's talking about us, man. Right? Read that.
And this is the book of Psalms, chapter 147, verse 19.
Uh-huh.
He showeth his word unto Jacob,
He shows his word unto Jacob. Come on.
his statutes and his judgments unto Israel.
Uh-huh.
He have not dealt so with any nation.
Uh-huh.
And as far for his judgments, and as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise thee, Yahweh.
Yep. If not dealt so with any nations, because every nation ain't his saints. Right? Ain't his saints. So this East Indian got some damn nerve trying to lower. Don't you know we catch hell every day? And this is what the woman, Edomite woman, is saying that. We catch hell every day. And that's scriptorial. Give me Deuteronomy 28:65. Let's see who this is talking about. This is talking about everybody. It's talking about our people. Right? Read that. Deuteronomy 28:65.
And this is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 65.
Mm-hmm.
And among these nations
And
shalt
among
thou
these
find no
nations,
ease.
the what?
And among these nations,
So it's not just the white man. It's not just the white man. The Lord says, among these nations. Come on.
thou shalt thou find no ease.
Can you go to the Chinese man? Can you go to the Chinese man and say you're short $1 on that Chinese food? No, you can't. Can you go to the East Indian man and say, I'm hungry. My child is hungry, right? Can I get some food from you? No, you can't. Can you go to the Arab man and say, I'm hungry, right? Can I get some food from you? Yes, you can. Your little girl can. But she's going to have to do something for him. You see that? So he's not giving her food based on helping her out. He's giving her food based on taking her in the back and having his way with her. So there's no ease. There's no ease. What about the African man? African man will do the same thing. He take your little girl in the back and deal with her sexually. And we know what the white man will do. And we know what the white man has done. So the Bible says, you will find no ease from these nations. Okay? Give me Lamentations 14, I believe, and start at the 12th verse.
This is the book of Lamentations, chapter 4, verse 12. The kings of the earth and all the inhabitants of the world would not have believed that the adversary and the enemy should have entered into the gates of Jerusalem.
should not agree that the adversary should have entered into the gates of Jerusalem, right? They wouldn't have believed that, or they entered into our gates. Read.
For the sins of her prophets and the iniquities of her priests that have
Again.
shed the blood of the just in the midst of her.
But have spared the blood of the just in the midst of her. That's what they have done. They have what? They have the blood of the midst of her. Read on.
They have wandered as blind men in the streets.
Mm-hmm. And
They
that's what's
have
happening to our young men right now. Our young men is in the streets because they have no mission, have no hope. The Bible tells you, kid, give me Proverbs 29 and 18. See, this is what we got to do. This is the hope that we got to bring them. We got to bring them back hope. Somehow, through the spirit of the Most High Yahweh, right? The Most High Yahweh have used us to bring them back hope, whether it's through the music, because the music is an instrumental tool. It can play a big part in bringing our people back by giving our people comfort. It's all through the scriptures. By giving our people comfort. The scriptures say in Ephesians 5 and 19, big spiritual songs, right? Spiritual songs that will bring our people back and give our people comfort or other things. You understand? Read.
the book of Proverbs, chapter 29, verse 18. Where there is no vision, the people perish.
The Bible said, where there's no vision, the people perish. What is the vision, man? We got to have some vision, man. And that's what I want to bring out. But go back to go back to that video. But I want to bring out the vision. I want to start talking about us and a vision, man, and plans that we can do. Whether we have the goal or the balls to do it is the case. But we can do things now to make it very much more comfortable in this system while we wait for the destruction of the system. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Because the Bible tells you in Isaiah 65, it says we should be eating and drinking, and others shall thirst and be hungry. Should be merry, and others shall be mournful. That's what it says in the scripture. So we got to have a vision. We got to have a way to make that happen, right? So go back to that, kid. I don't hear it. I don't hear it, kid.
No, there's no sound.
No sound. Is it the video? Is it a video arc or what? There's no sound.
Con. Let me see. Let me see something. It's too much. All right, I don't know what's going on. Go to the other video, but she made her point. She kind of broke out what was happening with the Black Americans and how did even put themselves in that same position. But go to the Asian American one.
this. I know that you and many other Black people know the answer, but it is something that I'm still processing, and it hits me really hard in the gut. And so I want people to understand that I am answering the question, what do I know? I'm not speaking for anyone. Many commenters today have pointed out how many affluent Black towns have been created and destroyed throughout United States history. And most non-Black people know about the Tulsa Massacre, Black Wall Street, Lake Lanier. But it was many Black towns. One commenter said over 60. And it's not that some Black people sometimes were able to establish a successful community that accumulated wealth. It's that Black people were consistently able to go anywhere and together establish strong communities that accumulated wealth and had education systems and businesses and were thriving. And every time it happened, people destroyed them. And then as you progress through time, it becomes less acceptable to burn and flood and massacre entire towns. So again, you have the passing of the Civil Rights Act in 1964, and the United States opens the door to Asian immigration in 1965. The United States has a long history of using immigrants to get in the way of Black people. And so I think that this system of using immigrant-owned businesses in Black communities is designed to siphon wealth away from Black communities. And another commenter asked me, why do I think that people are afraid of letting Black people build their communities and accumulate wealth and to thrive? And we see it so many times. It's because they fear revenge, because they know what they have done to Black people. But again, we have been told that if Black people wanted revenge, it would have happened already. That is not what they want.
King, stop. No. Now, this Asian woman is making some heavy points right here, man. She's making some heavy points. The video, meaning of this video, is showing you how they give them the loans for your own community. They give them the loans to open up these businesses in your community. That's why you look and you see the Koreans flourishing by doing hairs and toes and nails and all that, flourishing in your community, making millions. And she's saying how they give them the loans to get this done, but you are not getting them loans. People don't understand how significant this is, man. People don't understand how significant this is. That's how we gonna build up our community. If we can't be as American citizens, according to the American citizen, if you have the right credit score and you have collateral, you have what they call assets, something behind it, you should be allowed to get a loan for any business you want, especially in your own community. But here's an Asian woman telling you the secret that they're not loaning you money in your own community to build up your community. So what we do, what should we do? That's a problem, Israel. That's a problem that can be solved, Israel. That's why brothers and sisters need to get on this call. Not because it's me, one of the elders, but what's bringing out is a problem that we got to solve. Now, as men and women are going through things, right? I was there. I was there in the truth when I came into One West. I'm giving y'all stories now, right? There was time where I had went out to camp all day and I didn't have a dime in my pocket, but I was still loyal to the truth. And I didn't have no money after camp for food or nothing. Hot as hell. Drew up big garments. And sometimes you had to wear your garment fully girded, black boots. And I didn't have a dime in my pocket. But I was there. I was there. And was it rough? It was rough. It was part of my fight. It was part of my fight. You see what I'm saying?
It was part of my fight, but I had to deal with it. So what I'm telling you, King, is that, what I mean, we as elders want to do things so the other brothers and sisters don't have to worry about that. The other brothers and sisters don't have to worry about coming to camp and not having no food when they go home in the nighttime. But yet they came to camp, which is beautiful. They listened to the word. They built a spirit. That's the food, the spiritual food. But of course, James said they need physical food too. We want to be able to do that. So read on. Go on, King.
And I think that people think that the violence and exploitation and abuse of power that they have exacted upon Black people and all Black, brown, indigenous, and people of color is a universal human trait. And that if anybody has that wealth and power, then they would return that evil in kind. But it's not. Wealth and exist as other people. I find that a good way to help people who have a different lived experience than you exercise empathy for the struggles that you face that they may not be familiar with is to help them understand. And I was hoping that you could help me understand what anti-white racism looks like. Can you tell me about how you don't know where your ancestors came from because they were kidnapped and enslaved? Or how you don't know what languages they spoke, what spiritual practices they had, or what traditional knowledge that should have been your birthright was lost? Not because they were allowed to and wanted to assimilate, but because their enslavers or residential schools forced them to assimilate. Can you tell me about how your ancestors had explosives tied to them while they were building the United States railroads? And then as a show of appreciation, they were excluded from society for nearly 60 years? And could you tell me about the hundreds of towns that were destroyed, like the Black towns and Chinatowns and Japan towns, all destroyed by the same demographic? Can you tell me about the children who were unalived because they whistled at a woman or because they floated in a lake a little too far past the segregation line? And can you tell me how it was for your parents and your grandparents to be United States citizens who were put in internment camps on United States soil? Can you tell me how it was for your family to live in the back of their store because people who look like you were not allowed to purchase or rent homes? And could you tell me how it was for your parents and for you that blood to be treated as human, as equal, and to be allowed to simply share the same space as other people? Can you tell me about the conversations that you have to have with your children about police interactions? And could you tell me about how your mother and your sisters and your daughters are concerned about having children because of lack of equitable access to healthcare, because doctors were told that people who look like you can't feel pain? Can you tell me how it feels to know that your ancestors lived here for thousands of years, but when you try to come here, you and your children are put in cages? And can you tell me how it felt when a few years ago, the president entertained having people who look like you expelled from the country again? Can you tell me what anti-white racism looks like beyond having your feelings hurt, feeling uncomfortable, and having your sense of superiority challenged? And when you're done telling me what anti-white racism feels like for you, could you please tell me why you're not fighting to end racism for everybody? Yes, this is really important. Asian Americans were redlined from opening businesses in white neighborhoods because white people didn't want Asian Americans operating in their neighborhoods and didn't want Asian Americans profiting off of white people. But because the positionality of Asian Americans is weaponized to oppress Black people.
Y'all ever have somebody from outside your community tell your story better than the people inside it? That's exactly what's happening right now. An Asian American woman is breaking down Black history, exposing how her community has been weaponized against Black people, and calling out the system in ways that are making everyone uncomfortable. And honestly, we need more of this energy.
Stop it, King. Yes, she's definitely doing that. She's breaking down the problems of what's happening in the so-called Black community. She's bringing out everything that we suffer from. And that was doing it. I got to give her props when it comes to that. She is breaking it down. and telling them and realizing what they have done. How it was all the time they made us think that it was us just arguing and being bitter. Or they say, well, get a job. You niggas is lazy. You get a job. Stop depending on the white man. Don't look for no reparations. Don't look for none of that. You get a job, right? And just work. They go, well, listen, let me tell you something. You got to take away the $10,000 per family that you gave to Jeremiah, right? His heritage, his seed lot. This is Salakia. Yes, brothers. Yes, man. This Moabite, where she is dropping it and telling you really what's going on, which we know what they people have done to us, man. Let's continue, okay?
Family, welcome back to Chronicles of Blacks, where we don't just celebrate when truth is spoken, we amplify it, especially when it comes from unexpected places. If you're new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now. Smash that like, drop a comment, and let me know where you're because this community is global and is a rare moment of cross-cultural honesty. An Asian American content creator has been making videos breaking down Black history, specifically focusing on how Asian Americans have been used as a wedge against Black progress. And she's not sugarcoating it. She's not making excuses. She's telling the truth about the model minority myth, about how her community was positioned as the good minority to make Black people look bad, and about how that's damaged both communities. Let me give you the facts first, because we always start with receipts. This creator talks about how after the Civil Rights Act of 1964, when Black people finally had legal protections and were starting to build wealth and power, the United States government opened immigration from Asia in 1965. And this wasn't random. This was strategic. Asian immigrants were brought in and positioned as the model minority, the group that could succeed without complaining, without protesting, without demanding justice. She talks about how Asian-owned businesses were given loans to open in Black neighborhoods, while Black people were denied those same loans to open businesses in their own communities. She talks about redlining, about how Asian Americans were allowed to operate in Black spaces but not in white spaces, creating a dynamic where wealth was extracted from Black communities without being reinvested. And she talks about the tension this created, the LA riots, the killing of Latasha Harlins, a 15-year-old Black girl shot by a Korean store owner over a bottle of orange juice, the daily disrespect that Black customers face in Asian-owned businesses, the way Black children are followed, accused of stealing, treated like criminals in their own neighborhoods. Let me set up the clip, because this is where her honesty becomes powerful.
Asian Americans were being given loans to open businesses in Black communities, even though Black people were not able to receive loans to open businesses in their own communities. Obviously, the issue of Asian American owned businesses operating in Black communities is a huge source of tension because it is part of the daily violence faced by Black people in their own communities when they are disrespected as customers, to the literal physical violence, as was the case of the salon in Brooklyn, where a Black woman was locked into the salon by workers while they beat her with broomsticks, to the damage done to the psyches of particularly Black children when they are accused of shoplifting. And this isn't a topic that I'm going to be able to cover in one video, but it is a conversation that I do want to start. I think that if you ask some people what was the source of the tension, they'll say the LA riots and what happened in Koreatown, but you cannot mention the LA riots without recognizing the unaliving of Latasha Harlins the year before. a 15-year-old girl who was unalived by an Asian shop owner who thought that she was shoplifting orange juice, but the money to pay for the orange juice was in her hand when she was unalived. To overlook that is to value profit and property over Black bodies, which is at the root of the United States systemically racist system and capitalism. But I think that we have to go all the way back to the Civil Rights Amendment of 1964 and then the opening of Asian immigration in 1965. So in 1964, white power structure almost faced accountability to Black people. Black people should have started to be able to receive loans to open businesses in their own communities. But instead, in 1965, the United States opened the door to Asian immigration, and redlining meant that Asian Americans were receiving business loans, but only to open businesses in Black communities, and Black people still not receiving loans to open businesses in their own communities. So where you have this weaponized positionality of Asian Americans being put in Black people's way, of course you are going to have over the supplanted opportunity to open businesses in their communities, but also over the fact that the Black is now being paid out twice, once with goods or services, and the Asian business owner removes that wealth from the Black community. And I frequently heard the tension being framed as mutual misunderstanding, where these Asian shop owners didn't know about the civil rights struggles of Black people, and Black people were not familiar with the culture of Asian business owners. But I don't think that it can be framed as mutual misunderstanding where there is an uneven power dynamic. You have one demographic that is the business owners, and you have the other demographic that is having to pay. So where there is uneven power, I don't think that it's accurate to frame it as mutual misunderstanding. So my ancestors were asked by white men to come to this country, which they had stolen and forced Black people to build, because they were hoping that my ancestors would be the new cheap and disposable labor to undercut the recently freed Black people that lazy white men didn't want to pay. And when my ancestors wouldn't do that, they were lynched and massacred, their towns were destroyed, they were blown up while building the railroads, and ultimately they were excluded from society and the country for nearly 60 years. Then when the United States asked us to come back in the 1960s, because and the United States needed to rehabilitate its reputation with Asian countries that were, we had civil rights because of Black people. You're obviously not aware of this, but blessed is not a word that the global majority thinks of in association with Europeans. Words like plague and colonizer, maybe, but not blessed. And the cell phone in my hand came from China. So I don't know if you're referencing Steve Jobs or Martin Cooper or the Finnish inventor who created the first pocket-sized telecommunication device in 1917, and you probably don't know either because your education system has left you terribly ignorant and without the critical thinking skills necessary to effectively gather information. Because you believe that most great inventions can be attributed to one white person, as opposed to recognizing that the patent system is how white people colonize intellectual property. We would not have cell phones if it wasn't for the creation of the gamma electrical cell by Black inventor Henry T. Sampson. And most of our cell phones would not have microphones in them if it wasn't for the particular microphone that was created by Black inventor James Edward West. The creation of the first digital network, 1G, was launched in Japan, and then Black electrical engineer Jesse Russell pioneered the creation of 2G, which launched in Finland first. 3G launched in Japan, 4G launched in Norway, 5G launched in South Korea, and 30% of the world's cell phones are manufactured in China. Because we, of the global majority, recognize that collective humanity has the ingenuity and creativity of one another to thank. Whereas a lot of European Americans are laboring under the delusion that the rest of us have white people to thank. And it's this narcissistic ignorance that causes people like you to do embarrassing things, like leaving comments about Europeans and cell phones on a video about systemic anti-Black racism in the United States. And while that could be be held accountable for the misdeeds of their ancestors, yet they want to be associated with the greatness of the things that they think they invented.
I dare you to let me build you a completely free e-commerce store pre
Can y'all hear me? Hello?
I can hear
Con,
you, Elder.
con.
Did y'all get the significance of that video? The Asian woman telling on herself and telling on their community about how they get the loans. They're able to go to the loans and get the back. I don't know if y'all got the significance of this
Con,
video.
con, con.
What's being said here, right? This is what we've been saying for years. That these devils is giving people loans to gut in our community and continue oppressing our people. You understand that? Yeah. Hold
Precept,
on.
Elder.
Hi, Elder.
You understand that? So we're gonna deal with certain things. Y'all can hear me clearly?
Con.
Right. We're gonna deal with certain things. We as a people, we, HOI, what I want to do, me and Sabak is talking, I want to get HOI back. Well, I want to take the format that we had in the old school One West, right? Which was a great format for us to bring back our people and bring each and every one, brothers and sisters, in HOI as much as we can. Stability, where they can have a platform to work among us and build. And what did that take at One West? What did we do? We have brothers and sisters that can cook. So we opened up a little catering thing where food was served among us, and the brothers and sisters would cook, and we take plates among each other, and you would, yeah, I think it was like $6. But all of this was to grow the nation. And then we had a security where brothers would be security guards, and they would be able to get contracts. We was able to get contracts. Then we had the clothing department where brothers and sisters was able to make clothes, very nice clothes, right? Then we had a construction, right? We had that also. And then we had, not but least, we had buildings, brownstones. We was able to develop all of that and begin to build as a nation among each other. Therefore, every brother and sister had something they can do within the body. And I would like to get this back. And I think this is the time to make these moves because things is happening so fast. So you realize that we're on the verge right now of going to war, World War III. And what did the Bible say about this? In Revelations 11 and 14, what did the Bible say about this? Right? Revelations 11 and 14.
It's the book of Revelation, chapter 11, verse 14. The second woe is past,
Mhm.
and behold, the third woe cometh quickly.
Now, go to Revelations 9 and 12. I remember it said the second woe was past, and the third woe comes quickly, right? Go to Revelation 9 and 12.
It's book of Revelation, chapter 9, verse 12. One woe is past,
Now
and
it says one
behold,
woe past. Why the breakdown of that in Revelations 9 is talking about the First World War. When it talks about you will see in there, it talks about the Greek king, right? And what happened to start the First World War. Um, and it'll bring out about coming out of the bottomless pit, right? The Greek king. So it was talking about World War One and how World War One was starting, right? Now, when you go into this Revelation 11 and 14, this is saying the third world war comes quickly. So it says two wars have passed. It says, oh, I went out. It says two wars have passed, and the third one comes quickly, right? The third world comes quickly, right? Go back to that again. Go back to Revelations 9
Revelation 9. Okay.
Read.
One woe is past, and
Mm-hmm.
behold, there come two woes more hereafter.
So it says one woe is past, one war has passed, and behold, they come two wars hereafter. Right. So now we're on the verge of this third world war. We are on the verge of this third war like never before. Because if you check it out, um, when Trump went in and took the Venezuelan president out of power, took him out of power, and now it's taking the oil. Russia and China is demanding that you unleash him because you had no right to take him out of power. So now China now can make a move as far as going into Taiwan. Now to take Taiwan, America shouldn't be allowed to say nothing because America just went in and took the Venezuelan president. So everything is being lined up now. Once China takes Taiwan, then according to the agreement, now it's not Taiwan. The agreement is that if America must fight if they take Japan and the Philippines. That's an agreement that's signed. But Taiwan also is so significant to America that America must fight if China decides to go into Taiwan, which China is looking to do that. And now China has all the excuse in the world to go invade Taiwan. All the excuse. Because why? First of all, Taiwan belongs to China, right? And second of all, Trump just made that move. So the third world war is coming very quickly. As we read in Revelation 11 and 14, go back.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 11, verse 14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly.
And the third will come as quickly, right? Oh, I forgot to say, we had a music department too. We had a whole thing where brothers put out a whole tape of rappers, right? And music department. So we had that going, right? So we had everything going as far as building a nation, right? So now what I want to do for the podcast is significant is I want to build the podcast up so much that I can use that as an advertisement for our business. Like for example, anybody that's cooking, for example, Gabar Asha's Rib, she's a good cook, right? Or Sister Javera or whoever. Their name will be mentioned constantly on the podcast. But with the viewing audience of more and more people coming to the podcast, and I'm building it up. And now say I got about a viewing audience of 10, 15, 20,000 or people listening to the podcast, right? Then their name is mentioned. Well, the sister got a cooking business. This is how you get to her Instagram, right? Or Macabre name is mentioned. Macabre is a caterer. He's a cook. He's a chef for 30 years. Do you need anybody to cater the chef for you or whatever? His name is mentioned. And the music department. We got music coming out, right? So that would be taken care of. You see, all that starts with having a base of advertisement or we can advertise our business. Now we got a security business going, right? So now advertising the security business. We got a construction business going. We're advertising the construction business. And we have a big audience to do that. So now we get contacts. You see what I'm saying? We got people making clothing. Okay. Boom. We're advertising our clothing business. So all of that works to build the body up as a nation. Is why I'm trying to build that podcast. This is why it's so significant because podcasts can spread off to a lot of different things. Understand?
Fine.
But the music is important. So now, brother, the Chinese woman that whatever Korean or whatever showed you how they getting loans and what they doing. Now go to let's see how Harlem was kind of built up. Go to the Harlem Renaissance. Go to that because that's kind of interesting how Harlem came into existence, really, like how Harlem was made. Because a lot of people don't realize that Harlem wasn't black people at the time. Like Harlem was white people. And we're gonna see exactly how Harlem changed to black people, right? We're gonna see. So bear with me a little because this video, we're gonna go through this video. This video it has a lot of information in it, so we're gonna run this video. But it's bringing a point of Harlem was built up, right? So get to that. The Harlem Renaissance underworld.
Seven, 30 black men walked into the California state capitol carrying loaded rifles, completely legally. Within weeks,
Okay,
one of the most powerful governments on earth
King.
scrambled to change the law.
Hey, King.
Why?
Hey, King.
Because when black Americans exercised the same second.
Hey, King, stop the video for a second. Okay, that's actually the other one. That's not the. You don't see the Harlem Renaissance underworld in there? I don't know if he sent you that. All right. Just let me know, King. If you don't see it, we can go to that video because that video is based on the class. That video is based on the class to fight back. So we can go to that. If you don't see, I thought I might have sent he might have sent you the Harlem Renaissance underworld.
So like it shows that it's a hidden video in the playlist. So I think they just hid it.
Okay. All right, King. Well, all right, that's cool. We can talk about that, but I want to go to that then. Go to that. What you were showing about the Panthers and stuff. Go to that.
Change the law. Why? Because when black Americans exercised the same Second Amendment rights, white militias had used for centuries, the entire system revealed what it had always been: a weapon designed to keep some people armed and others defenseless. To understand why armed black men terrified America, you have to understand Oakland in the 1960s. After World War II, black families fled the Jim Crow South by the thousands, searching for something that had been denied to them for generations: opportunity, safety, dignity. Cities like Oakland promised a new beginning, a chance to build something better. But what they found wasn't freedom. It was a different kind of terror, one without white hoods, but just as deadly. The Oakland Police Department didn't serve black neighborhoods. It occupied them. Officers rolled through like soldiers in enemy territory, and every interaction was a potential death sentence. A broken taillight could become a beating. A question could become a bullet. By 1966, Oakland police were killing one black person every 3 weeks. The courts did nothing. The press looked away. And the message was crystal clear. You have no right to act. Two young men, Huey Newton and Bobby.
Can you hear me? Stop for a second. Now, and we rolled over something very significant. You see how many I think they said 1 out of 3 or something like that, every week was being killed. You see the type of level that we was on. We had to fight back. We had to fight back because you get 1 out of 3 blacks being killed. I think every week they said. We had no choice. We had no choice to fight back, which is what we're in now, and we don't realize it, right? That white woman that was killed by ICE, that is just a scapegoat to a sense. Now, I'm not running with the conspiracy thing that it was a setup. I don't believe that, but I believe that they will use that opportunity. See, a white person was killed. A white person was killed. So now we can, for one white person being killed, we can kill 4 black people because now it's showing you that white people was killed also. So now we get justified when we kill 4 black people. So I believe that's going to be an opportunity used to say now when a black person get killed, look, a white person got killed too. See, this is where we at now, right? They're coming down with their new world order, right? They're coming down with it, whether we believe it or not. Give Revelations 12 and 12 and 12, okay?
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 12. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time.
Right, stop, King. Stop. This is where we at now, man. Because you don't see the devil just running in your house right now. You think, well, we still got a long time, man. Listen, man, we don't got no long time here. Don't fool yourself. Do not fool yourself. Things is happening right now. Things is happening right now, right? They're running around, and now ISIS is going to be turned for you. See, you thought that ISIS was just for the immigrants. You thought that ISIS was just going to be used for the immigrants, right? You're going to find that they're going to use that for you too. They're going to use that a way to start coming at you. It's the time we live in. So we got to be prepared for this, right? We have to be prepared. It's all up front. Now they know who we are. The devil knows what we about. You heard the Asian woman saying that they nervous that we're gonna get them back. That's always in their mind that we're gonna get them back. You know what I mean? That's always in their mind. So the devil understands that clearly, right? We do not have as much time as we think. We have an urgency to make moves now. Stop thinking you have years and years and this and that, and you're going to work on a job and you're going to retire with a good pension and you're going to have this and that. Stop thinking that because that's not how it's going down. This thing is happening. Do you believe the Most High? Everyone knows that you have a short time. Do you actually believe him? Or are you playing games with this? Right? I don't know if a lot of us believe that. It's just read that again, King.
Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time.
Okay, right. The devil has come down to you having great wrath because he knows he has but a short time. So now what does that mean for you? Does that mean that you just wild out and do this and do that and spend money? And no, it doesn't mean that. But you need to build and be prepared to do things and make moves. Stop thinking you have forever. You see what I'm saying? Because the scriptures tell you, listen, man, let me get Zephaniah 1 and 15. Sometimes with our brothers and sisters, man, it's draining sometimes. It's draining to keep trying to show them something and then still watching how they move. Like they don't move urgently. They don't move like things is happening. They move like they still got forever. Oh yeah. They went into Venezuela and took a president out. Yes, I heard about that. Oh yeah, I heard that the ship was seized, the Russian ship was seized and put it said the next time that happened, I'm gonna send nuclear weapons on you. I heard that, but China is gonna invade Taiwan, but that's not. Well, what the hell is the signs telling you? Yeah, tornadoes and hurricanes and floods is happening every day, but still, what you see, this is your mindset. You're gonna be caught up in that.
All right.
Read that again, King.
What you want, Zephaniah?
Yeah, give me Zephaniah 1 and 15, King.
It's the book of Zephaniah, chapter 1, verse 15. That day is a day of wrath.
That day is what?
A day of wrath.
This is not to put no fear in somebody, but this is what the scriptures say. It says it's a day of wrath. Read on.
A day of trouble and distress.
A day of shock and distress. Come on.
A day of wasteness and desolation.
Read.
A day of darkness and gloominess.
Right. Are we saying this? Are we saying this, or the scriptures are saying this? A day of darkness and gloominess. We're not saying this. The scriptures is telling you that this is what this day is. This is a day of darkness and gloominess. You have to understand that. Read on, King.
A day of clouds and thick darkness.
That's the nuclear bombs that's going to come, man. That's the nuclear weapons that's coming. And Putin every day is telling you he's ready to launch this. Right? Read.
A day of the trumpet and alarm against the fenced cities.
This is these cities that the white man, you hear the white man and white woman now will say things like, this never happened in our cities before. Why? Because they was fed. This is the gator cities that they talk about. It's now starting to be invaded. All these prophecies is happening right before our eyes. What are we doing? This is what I'm saying. So go back to that video. But before I made the video, the Harlem Renaissance, the reason why I was pulling up the Harlem Renaissance, right? I was going to show in the video, it shows you how the Harlem people began to make money for themselves. And what they would do, the Cotton Club was a form of a lot of money coming through the Cotton Club, but black people could not go into the Cotton Club. Black people could
Guys,
not go into the Cotton Club.
Salaki Elder. We got the video pulled up.
You got the Harlem Renaissance? The
Yeah,
Underworld? Okay,
yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Jay. And then we go back to that Panther video, but go to the Harlem Renaissance.
(42nd Street and Lenox Avenue, Harlem, New York, December 4th, 1929. The most famous nightclub in America, where Duke Ellington's orchestra played 7 nights a week, where Cab Calloway invented the word Heidi-ho, where Josephine Baker danced, Ethel Waters sang, and Bill Bojangles Robinson tapped his way into history. 1,000 white faces in evening wear, champagne glasses catching the spotlight, cigarette smoke thick enough to cut with a knife. Not one black customer. Wall-to-wall segregation enforced by armed bouncers at the door. Whites only. In Harlem. In the heart of Black America's cultural capital. On stage, brilliance. In the audience, apartheid. And in the back office, Oni Madden, Irish bootlegger, convicted murderer. Paroled in 1923 after serving 8 years for killing a man in a street fight. Owner of the Cotton Club, the most profitable nightclub in North America. On this December night in 1929, he'll count $8,000 in revenue. That's $140,000.
Stop real quick, King. Now, the owner, the most profitable nightclub in America. Do you know who had that before? Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson had the Cotton Club before this Edomite had it. And then look at what this Edomite was. This Edomite was a straight gangster, a so-called killer.
right? He killed the man, right? But before this Edomite had it, Jack Johnson had it. But they took it from Jack Johnson, I think, for tax reasons and all that. That's everything. The devil always do that. So they took it from Jack Johnson, and this Edomite was able to take the Cotton Club, the most profitable club in America, Harlem. Let's go.
Salakia Elder.
Yeah.
You know, that's right down the street from the fish market.
I think it was on 143rd. They mentioned it though. I think it's like kind of close to me. I think they said 143rd in Lenox. Oh yeah, you talking about yeah, it was the original one was on 143rd in Lenox, but you talking about the new one. Yeah. The
Right.
latest one is right down the
Sure.
street from the fish market. Yeah. Go ahead.
Right.
In today's money. From one night. Where's the money coming from? Bootleg whiskey, $3 a shot. Cover charge, $5 per person. Minimum spend, $15 per table. Slot machines in the basement. And the music? The music is just bait. Duke Ellington earns $750 a week, the highest paid black band leader in America. Madden earns that much before midnight. But here's what they don't show you in the movies. 3 blocks.
You there? It went off.
No, I can't slack it out. I end up playing.
Oh, got a little technical difficulties, brother. Brother, you there? You there?
Yeah, I had it up playing. That's why I'm kind of happy when I end.
Ran out of songs 2 hours ago. This is a rent party. And the woman who lives here, she's collected $237 tonight. 50 cents admission, 25 cents per drink, and a tip jar by the piano. That's more money than she makes in 6 weeks working as a domestic servant for a white family downtown. She'll pay her rent tomorrow.
You pay her
$40. The rest, she'll save it because.
Stop, King. She said so. It said she will pay her rent tomorrow. So now, this is what's happening here. Blacks cannot go into the Cotton Club, right? They could not go into the Cotton Club. They banned them from the Cotton Club. They had what they call rent parties to the music. They had musicians come in and play. That we used to do it. Everybody used to do it. House parties, right? And then through the house parties and stuff like that, she was able to pay her rent. They would have like bail parties for people that was locked up and stuff like that. And then the music would contribute to that because you would have artists playing in there to raise up the fund. So everybody would come, yo, this brother right here is nice. I want to hear him. I want to hear him or this sister. She can really sing. I want to hear her. So I'm going to come and I'm going to pay admission to hear them. And that would be in the house party. And that's how they was able to provide for themselves, right? And this is what I'm telling you. With music, if we get our artists out there on a level, they can start doing shows and do shows. They can do fundraising and fundraising where everybody comes. And this is to build. We need this. We need this done. So we get brothers that can rap or sing or whatever. Sisters can sing and they go and they perform. And then it builds up the nation. Because now we charging people to build something like
We may need a sister. This is what they're doing. This is what the Harlem Renaissance they're doing. We need a sister. She may be in trouble with her rent or whatever. Well, we're gonna have a fundraiser for her. We're gonna have brothers come in and they're gonna rap or whatever, sing. Our brothers or sisters gonna sing, and that's gonna be a fundraiser going through something or going through trouble. And we gotta continue doing that to help our people. And it will help. This is what they're doing. This is what they're doing to survive, right? Let's continue going. Yeah,
Elder, they
continue.
showed that in Harlem Nights.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what they're doing to survive, right? Let's go.
Next month, the same thing happens all over again. Now, 4 blocks north, a storefront with blacked out windows. No sign. You knock 3 times. A slot opens. Someone looks you over. And if they like what they see, you're in. Inside, 30 men and women huddled around a table. A man in a vest is pulling numbers from a canvas bag. Someone shouts, 72! A woman screams, clutches a ticket, and starts crying. She just won $300. She bet 50 cents. That's a 600 to 1 payout. This is a policy bank. Numbers gambling. The Harlem Lottery. And the man running it? Casper Holstein. Born in the Virgin Islands, arrived in New York in 1913 with $6 in his pocket. Tonight, December 4th, 1929, his 30 policy banks across Harlem will collect $60,000 in bets. He'll pay out $20,000 in winnings. The rest, $40,000 in one day. That's $800,000 in today's money. Per week, $4 million. Per year, $200 million. And what does he do with it? He funds the Harlem Renaissance. Last month, he gave Langston Hughes $1,000 so he could quit his busboy.
Shalom. Now, Langston Hughes was a writer, right? And he's about to tell you about Langston Hughes. Langston Hughes was a famous writer that wrote about Harlem. Now, what Langston Hughes was, he gave Langston Hughes money to be able to write about Harlem so that what? It's going to tell you that what? The relatives is coming up from Jim Crow. They're being taken out. And this is the thing with the South. They're leaving the South. And they're coming up now to the, and they're hearing about things in Harlem. They're hearing about things that's going. So now you have a lot of the brothers and sisters in the South coming to the East. Now Langston Hughes is telling you all the great things that's happening in Harlem. So now they're coming right towards Harlem. It's going to tell you that to build Harlem up. And it's going to continue telling. Let's continue going.
Busboy job and write poetry full-time. 2 months ago, he paid for Zora Neale Hurston's research trip to the South. He bankrolls black theater productions, sponsors literary contests, and keeps Opportunity magazine alive. The greatest artistic movement in American history, funded by illegal gambling. And finally, one more scene. Convent Avenue, the most exclusive street in Harlem. A 5-story townhouse that cost $200,000. The owner is inside, throwing a party. Champagne imported from France. Live jazz quartet in the corner. 50 guests, a mix of artists and criminals. Langston Hughes is talking to Stephanie St. Clair, the only woman in New York who runs her own policy operation. Zora Neale Hurston is laughing with a man who just got out of prison for shooting a rival numbers banker. And in the center of it all, the host, Alelia Walker, daughter of Madam C.J. Walker, the first black woman millionaire in America. She inherited $2 million when her mother died in 1919. Tonight, this party will cost $10,000. 4 scenes, 1 night, 1 neighborhood, December 4th, 1929. They said black culture was primitive, savage, not art, just noise. They said jazz was the devil's music, that black people couldn't create anything America would pay to see. They said Harlem was a slum, a ghetto, a place where nothing good could ever grow. They were catastrophically wrong. But here's what they don't teach you in school, what they leave out of the documentaries, what gets erased from the history books. The greatest artistic movement in American history was funded by bootleggers, built by gangsters, and controlled by the same criminal underworld that made Prohibition-era New York the most dangerous city in America. The Harlem Renaissance wasn't just Langston Hughes and Duke Ellington. It was Oni Madden and Casper Holstein. It was rent parties where musicians got paid in bootleg gin and whatever was left in the tip jar. It was policy banks that extracted millions from the poorest black neighborhood in America and funneled just enough back to keep the artists alive. This is the story of how crime and culture became inseparable, how segregation created an economic ecosystem where the only people willing to invest in black art were criminals, because they were the only ones with money the white establishment couldn't control. How the Cotton Club and the policy racket and the rent party circuit formed a triangle that created jazz, birthed the Lindy Hop, and gave America its only original art form. This is the story of the Harlem Renaissance underworld, and it starts 20 years earlier, when Harlem wasn't black at all. Harlem, Manhattan. If you walked down Lenox Avenue that year, you'd see German bakeries, Irish saloons, Italian grocery stores, and Jewish tailors. Middle class, immigrant, white, black people. They lived downtown in a neighborhood called the Tenderloin, around 30th Street. Harlem was where white people moved to escape them. And the neighborhood had been built for wealthy white.
How much you want to pay? How much? How much you say? All right. Yeah.
White families in the 1880s. Grand brownstones, wide boulevards, tree-lined streets. But by 1910, it was in trouble. Real estate developers had overbuilt. Too many apartments, not enough tenants. Property values were collapsing. And into that crisis walked a black real estate agent named buildings. Black families downtown were desperate for better housing, crammed into tenements where tuberculosis killed thousands every year. So Peyton made a pitch: rent to black tenants. They'll pay more than white tenants because they have no other options. And they'll take care of the properties because they're grateful to be there. The white landlords were horrified. Rent to black people in Harlem, but they were also broke, and broke beats racist. Peyton bought his first building in 1904. By 1910, he controlled 200 properties. The white residents fought back. They formed neighborhood associations, tried to establish restrictive covenants, even offered to buy out black tenants just to make them leave. It didn't work, because something bigger was coming, something no neighborhood association could stop: the Great Migration. Between 1910 and 1920, 500,000 black people left the South and moved north. They were fleeing Jim Crow, fleeing sharecropping, fleeing lynching. World War I created a labor shortage in northern factories. Steel mills, meatpacking plants, automobile factories, they needed workers. And for the first time in American history, they were willing to hire black people. Harlem became the destination. In 1910, the neighborhood was 10% black, 14,000 people. By 1920, 73% black, 118,000 people. In a single decade, an entire community displaced, rebuilt, and reinvented itself.
Stop. So what you get now, the Harlem Renaissance, what you get now is the brothers and sisters from the South coming up to Harlem. That's why we connected. A lot of times you say your cousin from the South. Yeah, a lot of people that you see got connections to the South. That was in Harlem, right? That's them coming up. They was fleeing Jim Crow. Some Southern brothers and sisters get upset. They said we left them, but we ain't leave them. But some of y'all, they got tired of the Jim Crow and they left, and they coming up here, up north. Now, there's a lot of things going on. Now you see what the lottery today is what we started. That's what they talking about when they talk about the numbers and stuff. That actually fleet to the lottery today, and now I ain't gonna give it too much away, but you get the gangster Dutch Schultz that's coming in there now to get Bumpy Johnson and Madam, the woman Madam they talking about. They started a numbers thing, and they thought it was nothing. They used to call it nigger pennies, but they realized it, and it's big. It's big, right? It's illegal gambling. So I wouldn't say for us to go that route. I'm just talking about how Harlem was started, though. But the lottery and the gambling, you know what I mean? You see today, remember, that started by our people. That's the numbers, but that's taking on another level. You see what I'm saying? And you're going to see the demon Dutch Schultz. This is a so-called Amalek. This is a Jewish cat too, not an Italian cat. This is a Jewish cat, and you're gonna see the chaos that he started because the Jews, a lot of the Jews was gangsters. That's where you get Murder Inc. from. That's where you get them. They was gangsters, and they used that money to fund their children and to make them lawyers and doctors. But in the beginning, they was gangsters, man. And it's gonna tell you. We're gonna continue going.
The largest internal migration in American history, and Harlem was ground zero. But here's what that actually looked like on the ground. It wasn't orderly. It wasn't planned. It was chaos. Families arrived with everything they owned in a single suitcase. They had no jobs, no connections, no money. Landlords saw opportunity. A white family paid $30 a month for a 3-bedroom apartment. A black family, $60 for the same apartment. And if you complained, there were 10 families behind you willing to pay $70. So black families adapted. 3 families in one apartment. Grandparents, parents, and children sleeping in shifts. Living rooms converted to bedrooms. Kitchens used 24 hours a day. And still, they couldn't make rent. $60 a month when you're earning $15 a week. The math doesn't work. And that's where the rent party was born. The rent party.
Stop. And
The most important.
Right, stop. Stop. Now he's talking about the rent party, how people make ends meet. But I'm going to tell you something now. That's not how we're supposed to live, right? Give me Leviticus. Something very important now. I'm going to get into something deep. Give me Leviticus 18. They tell you 3 families living together, right? Remember, man, our people are sick. Is we supposed to be living like that? 3 families all together? Nah, we're not supposed to be living like that, right? And I'm gonna show you why. Go to Leviticus 20. We're gonna get into something. I think it's 20 or 18. We're gonna get into something deep right here. This not brought out a lot, but this is very important. Everything in these scriptures is important. This is not brought out a lot, right? Give me Leviticus 18 and start at the 7th verse.
This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 18, verse 7. The nakedness of thy father or the nakedness of thy mother shalt thou not uncover.
Read on.
She is thy mother. Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness.
Right, you ain't supposed to be seeing your mother or your father's nakedness. Now, when you tied up, let's be real, when you tied up with 3 families in one apartment, this is the things that you're doing. This is the thing that's going on, right? Because you're cramped up, right? Read on.
The nakedness of thy father's wife shalt thou not uncover. It is thy father's nakedness.
Now, remember this, man. Let's go into something. Let's understand something. Give me Mike this 2 and 10. I'm going somewhere with this. Remember that we in hell. We in hell and we messed up and we're polluted. Our minds is polluted, over sexualized, watching porno, watching all type of stuff. So are we supposed to be cramped up among each other like that? No. We're seeing the nakedness of thy father. We're seeing the nakedness of thy mother.
right? It said the nakedness of thy sister and the daughter of thy father or mother, whether she be born home or abroad. Right. 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 Y'all hear me? A lot of molestation happened in our community too, not as much as the white man and white woman because they are the devil. So that they sure they always been doing that stuff. But among us, a lot of molestation happens too, but it's not talked about because it's taboo. A lot of sisters been touched. A lot of brothers been touched. And this is why you get in this craziness among our people, right? So when you in a household, that's one thing that's not touched about. When you in a household, three families in one household, it's not supposed to be like that. So when we read all these scriptures, when it talks about that, I'm gonna just read it. I'm gonna just read it real through. I'm gonna read it real quick, but just to get to the point. The nakedness of thy sister, the daughter of thy father, or the daughter of thy mother, whether she be born at home or born abroad, even thy nakedness thou shalt not uncover. The nakedness of thy son's daughter or thy daughter's daughter, even thy nakedness thou shalt not uncover, for it is thy own nakedness. The nakedness of thy father's wife begotten thy father, she is the sister, thou shalt not uncover the nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy father's sister, she is thy father's near kindred. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy mother's sister, for she is thy mother's near kindred, the aunt, and so on. The whole family structure. So, and I'm gonna be honest, man. Sometimes our people is polluted, man. Give me that in Micah's 2 and 10. Our people is polluted. So they walking around damn naked in the house. I'm seeing it, man. Ain't supposed to be doing that. This is a touchy subject, but it's a real subject and it's in there for a reason. Ain't supposed to be doing these. They're not supposed to be walking naked in front of their kids and all of that. This is not supposed to be how it's done, right? The Lord tells you that. And because our mind has been polluted in this world, we think it's okay. So it says, thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy daughter's law. She is thy son's wife. Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy brother's wife. It is thy brother's nakedness. Men sleeping with their brother's wife. That thing's happen. A brother having sex with his own brother's wife, right? But the scriptures say, thou shalt not uncover thy nakedness of thy brother's wife. You ain't supposed to see her nakedness. A lot of times when you're in a close like that, them things is happening. Why did David go off with Bathsheba? Because he saw her nakedness, basically. And then he wanted that. You see what I'm saying? So this is
Right.
how these things is affecting our community. Thou should not uncover the nakedness of the woman and her daughter, neither should thou take her son's daughter or her daughters to uncover the nakedness, for they are near kingsmen. It is wickedness. Neither should thou take the wife to her sister to vex her, to uncover her nakedness, because besides the others in her lifetime. So when you're living in that type of environment, three families in one household, what you think is happening, man? Especially we being in America, we don't know these laws, right? Give me that, Micah 2 and 10.
This is the book of Micah, chapter 2, verse 10. Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you even with a sore destruction.
Right, because it's polluted, man. It's going to destroy you. Nakedness is something that you're not supposed to get accustomed to. When we was young and we was kids and we going into the bodegas and all of that, we about 10, 11 years old and there's open porno things. This is what the devil does, man. There's open porno magazines that we can see clearly as an 11, 12-year-old kid, and they not covering that up, 11, 12-year-old girl. They not covering it up. They don't have it in a section where the kids can't see, but the kids can see that. And a lot of times the kids will go in the back and see it. This is what they do to pollute our minds and to mess with our minds. So that's just something to touch on, man, and realize when they talk about how we was living in three families living in one apartment. You just got to think about them things, right? And how they get you to break scriptures, right? Because that scripture, Leviticus 18, I'm not saying it's not brought out. I don't see it brought out enough. That's all I'm saying. It's in there for a reason, right? But let's continue with the video.
Cultural institution in Harlem's history, and it started as an act of desperation. You're 3 weeks late on rent, landlord's threatening eviction, and you have no options.
Yeah, something went up again. But also, real quick, why is that happening? Because it's poverty. It's telling you, right? Give me Proverbs 10 and 15 real quick. Real quick. It's telling you a reason. Poverty. Remember, it tells you they came up in a poverty state.
This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 10, verse 15. The rich man's wealth is his strong city. The destruction of the poor is their poverty.
Right. So remember, we came in, they told you we didn't have much when we came to Harlem, and we was forced to live like that. So you see what I'm saying? That's how them things can destroy us too. So go on, King. Check the video. King, King, you with me? King, you with me? King. Is the video going? What's going on, King?
Kyle, the video is playing. Is it no sound on the end?
Yeah, there's no sound on my end. I don't know about anybody else. Anybody else can hear it?
No.
Oh,
La, la.
Let me see. I'ma see. Oh no.
No, there's no sound, just visual.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but you might have to scratch that and go to that Black Panther video because it's I don't know, it's so difficult to take it.
Con. Yeah, I'm feeling it.
Yeah. So in the meantime, while this brother gets get this video going, so yeah, so that was the Harlem Renaissance. So it's based on you had when you check it out as you go on, it's a good video for y'all to watch too. You get into Duck Schultz and you get into Bumpy Johnson and how they fought back and they tried to take over. But my original point to that is that Harlem was not black people. Black people came in after. It was originally white people, and they want to take it back. They want to take it back right now as we speak. They're taking it back. So go ahead, I'll jump into that. Yeah, jump into that.
30 black men walked into the California state capitol carrying loaded rifles, completely legally. Within weeks, one of the most powerful governments on earth scrambled to change the law. Why? Because when black Americans exercised the same Second Amendment rights white militias had used for centuries, the entire system revealed what it had always been: a weapon designed to keep some people armed and others defenseless. To understand why armed black men terrified America, you have to understand Oakland in the 1960s. After World War II, black families fled the Jim Crow South by the thousands, searching for something that had been denied to them for generations: opportunity, safety, dignity. Cities like Oakland promised a new beginning, a chance to build something better. But what they found wasn't freedom. It was a different kind of terror, one without white hoods, but just as deadly. The Oakland Police Department didn't serve black neighborhoods. It occupied them. Officers rolled through like soldiers in enemy territory, and every interaction was a potential death sentence. A broken taillight could become a beating. A question could become a bullet. By 1966, Oakland police were killing one black person every 3 weeks. The courts did nothing. The press looked away. And the message was crystal clear: you have no rights we are bound to respect. Two young men, Huey Newton and Bobby Seale, watched their community bleed. They were college students, activists, angry but strategic. They didn't just want to protest. They wanted to stop the violence. So they did something that would change American history forever. They read the law, page by page, statute by statute, searching for anything that could protect black lives in a system designed to destroy them. And then they found it. California law allowed open carry. Any citizen could legally carry a loaded firearm in public as long as it wasn't concealed and wasn't brandished threateningly. The same right white Americans had used for centuries to form militias, patrol their neighborhoods, and terrorize black voters during Reconstruction. Newton and Seale realized something revolutionary. If white men could carry guns to intimidate, black men could carry guns to protect. In October 1966, the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense was born. They created the 10-point program, a list of demands.
Real quick, and mention Reconstruction era in there. So that's Reconstruction era you get from 1860 to about 1860 was when around that time when they said slavery had so-called end. So you get 1860 to about 1920, close to 1920 era, where blacks first joined the Republican Party, not the Democrat. It was the Republicans, and we was doing all type of laws, and we had our business going. And just 40 years out of slavery, we had Black Wall Streets, and we had different areas.
So what is he talking about? He's talking about the guns now that was given into their hands to terrorize us, to come into our communities, to shoot our communities down, like the Black Wall Street and these different areas. That's what he's talking about. He's talking about that era right there. But blacks, even during that time, had a lot of blacks coming from World War One and stuff like that. Was it World War One? Might have been World War One or World War Two, one of the eras. But you had blacks that knew how to fight. We always knew how to fight, right? So that was going on during the Reconstruction era. But now it comes back up to the 18th, and what we're dealing with well, now, he says, what, in the 60s, under the Black Panther era. So now we're seeing that weapons, we're using weapons, you know what I mean, to fight for our community and bring it back. And not just the is was also to intimidate by weapons. Hear out. Not to actually kill, but to show black men carrying weapons to let you know that we will fight as necessary. So they roll up into the government when Ronald Reagan was there, and they intimidated the hell out of white people, saying that we have guns and we know our rights and we will fight back. Now, imagine you see Nate and his team, the purple guys. Imagine if they had arms with them, because they got a right in certain states to carry arms. If they are carrying arms and walking around with 1,000 black men, see now you're going on a different level. I'm not saying you're shooting, but you're showing the cracker that you're willing to shoot. You're willing to shoot, and that's terrorizing him, man. He's gonna get scared to death. You understand? And he's gonna, and this is what the Black Panthers decide to do, right? Not that they were shooting, but eventually they started shooting. But in the beginning, that they were showing that they was willing to shoot, and that was terrorizing the cracker. So continue going on.
Plans that sounds radical only because America had denied black people the basics for so long. Jobs, housing, education, an end to police brutality. But the revolutionary part wasn't the words on paper. It was how they planned to enforce them. The Panthers began doing something Oakland had never seen. They followed police cars. When officers pulled over black residents, Panthers would park nearby, step out with rifles and shotguns clearly visible, and watch. They'd stand at a legal distance, law books open, observing everything. If police challenged them, Panthers would recite California penal codes verbatim, calmly explaining that they had every legal right to be there. They called it policing the police, and it worked. For the first time in Oakland's history, police couldn't brutalize black residents without witnesses. They couldn't intimidate or silence. Officers who were used to operating with absolute impunity suddenly had to follow the rules. Violence dropped. The community noticed. Word spread like wildfire. Within months, the Black Panther Party grew from 30 members to hundreds. Black Oakland finally had protection. But white Oakland had something else: panic. Because suddenly, the comfortable lies America told itself were collapsing. This wasn't about whether black people deserved rights. Everyone knew they did, at least in theory, at least on paper. The real question, the one white America had never had to face so directly, was whether the system would tolerate black people defending those rights by force. And
Stop, King, stop. So now, do we have a right to defend? Can we see this in the scriptures? Oh, yes, we can. King, give me 2 Maccabees 15 and start at the 20, 22 verse. Right? Do we have a right to carry arms? You damn right. Do we have a right to protect ourselves? You damn right. Scriptures tell you that. Scriptures tell you that. Read it. Second Maccabees 15 and 22.
Con, this is the book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 15, verse 22. Therefore, in his prayer, he said after this manner, O Most High, thou didst send thine angel in the time of Ezekias, king of Judea, and didst slay in the host of Sennacherib 184,500.
Mm-hmm.
Wherefore now also, O Most High of heaven, send a good angel before us for a fear and dread unto them. And through the might of thine arm, let those be stricken with terror that come against.
Salakia. Send a good angel through fear and dread unto them. Don't you know that they supposed to fear us to a certain extent? They supposed to fear that if they do something to us, something's gonna happen to us. Read on, okay?
Wherefore now also, O Most High of heaven, send a good angel before us for a fear and dread unto them. And through the might of thine arm, let those be stricken with terror that come against thy holy people to blaspheme. And he ended thus. Then Nicanor and they that were with him came forward with trumpets and songs.
Read on.
But Judas and his company encountered the enemies with invocation and prayer. Say that fighting with their hands.
Fighting with their hands, come on.
And praying unto Yahweh with their hearts.
Come on.
They slew no less than 30 and 5,000 men. For through the appearance of the Most High, they were greatly cheered.
See that? So where's this attitude about, now the scriptures do say our weapons is not carnal but spiritual, right? The scriptures do say we wrestle with spiritual wickedness in high places. Now, that's not all our weapons, but where does it say in weapons that we're not going to use weapons or we're not going to deal with weapons? No, we're going to deal with weapons. You can't do that. But how you get your weapon, you get your weapon. And that's all I say on that matter. But let's go back to the video. Let's go back to the video. Damn, it's slow again, King.
Cause like, you said what?
So you can't hear it. It's low. You can't hear nothing.
Oh, it's the sound again. Let me see.
Pass quietly and watch their only defense stripped away. Or they could make a statement so bold that America would never forget it. On May 2nd, 1967, 30 Black Panthers, men and women dressed in black leather jackets and berets, walked into the California state capitol carrying loaded rifles, shotguns, and pistols. They moved through the marble halls with purpose, past lawmakers who froze in disbelief, past security guards who had no legal grounds to stop them. Everything they were doing was completely legal. When they reached the assembly chamber, Bobby Seale stood on the Capitol steps and read a message directly into news cameras. The American people in general, and the black people in particular, must take careful note of the racist California legislature, which is now considering legislation aimed at keeping black people disarmed and powerless. The photos ricocheted around the world. White Americans watched their televisions in absolute horror, seeing black citizens exercise the exact same constitutional rights that white militias had flaunted for generations. And here's where the mask came off. Governor Ronald Reagan, who would later become president on a platform of limited government and individual freedom, was at that time one of the staunchest defenders of gun rights in America. He was a lifetime NRA supporter who had campaigned on protecting Second Amendment freedoms. But when he saw those photos, when he watched black men assert those same freedoms, Reagan's position changed overnight. He immediately endorsed the Mulford Act. Within weeks, it passed the California legislature with bipartisan support. Reagan signed it into law with cameras rolling. Open carry was now illegal in California. The same politicians who had spent careers defending gun rights as sacred American freedoms suddenly supported strict gun control. The same citizens who praised armed militias as patriotic now demanded disarmament. The system revealed itself with perfect clarity. The Second Amendment was never a universal right. It was a privilege reserved for those the system trusted to enforce white supremacy. But the story doesn't end with a law. It ends with annihilation. The FBI, under J. Edgar Hoover, launched COINTELPRO, a covert program designed to neutralize what Hoover called black identity extremists. The Panthers became target number one. Federal agents didn't just surveil them. They infiltrated their organization with informants. They fabricated evidence. They coordinated violent police raids designed to look like shootouts. In December 1969, Chicago police murdered Fred Hampton, a 21-year-old Panther leader, in his bed while he slept. He was drugged by an FBI informant hours earlier to ensure he wouldn't wake up. They shot him twice in the head at point-blank range. His pregnant girlfriend survived by pretending to be dead. The police claimed it was a gunfight. Ballistics later proved the Panthers fired one shot. Police fired over 90. By 1982, the Black Panther Party was functionally destroyed, not by public rejection, but by systematic government dismantling. And here's what history books won't tell you, what they desperately want you to forget. The Panthers' free breakfast program fed 20,000 children every single day. It was so successful, so necessary, that the United States government adopted it as the national school breakfast program still used today. Their free health clinics tested over 50,000 people for sickle cell anemia, creating the first mass screening program in American history when the medical establishment ignored the disease because it primarily affected black people. Their community survival programs became the blueprint for organizing models used by activists across the world. The Black Panthers weren't just carrying guns and making demands. They were building an alternative system, proving that black communities could survive, even thrive, without depending on institutions designed to oppress them. They were showing America that black people didn't need white saviors or patient reform. They could save themselves, and that's why they had to be destroyed. White America didn't panic because black men had guns. Armed white militias had existed since before the country was founded. The Ku Klux Klan terrorized black communities for a century, with complete impunity. Right-wing groups still parade through streets with assault rifles, calling it freedom. White America panicked because the Black Panthers proved the system was never about rights or freedom or constitutional principles. It was about power. It was about control. And when black people stopped asking for permission and started taking what was legally theirs, the entire facade crumbled. The Black Panther Party for Self-Defense existed for 15 years. In that time, they were labeled terrorists, criminals, and existential threats to American democracy. But they never stormed a government building to overturn an election. They never lynched anyone. They never bombed a church full of children. They fed the hungry. They provided health care to the sick. They educated their communities about rights and power and history. They protected people who had never known protection. And for that, they were systematically destroyed by the most powerful government on earth. This isn't ancient history gathering dust in archives. Many of the laws created to dismantle the Panthers still exist. The surveillance systems built to infiltrate them evolved into the mass incarceration complex. The fear tactics used against them echo in every tough-on-crime political campaign. The same arguments used to justify their destruction are recycled today against every movement demanding black liberation. The Black Panthers didn't fail. They were defeated by a system that could not allow black people to defend themselves, educate themselves, and empower themselves, because that system only functions when some people remain powerless. Erased history isn't erased by accident. It's erased because the truth is dangerous. And the most dangerous truth of all is this: Black Americans have always known how to save themselves. They've just never been allowed to.
Slucky, hold on. I don't think we can hear you.
Hello? Hello? I got a question, but I guess Tahar is out.
God, Elder, can you hear her?
Hey, Salaki, can I be heard?
Yeah, can y'all hear me?
God, I
Thumb,
can
can
hear
y'all
you,
hear
Bob.
me?
Can I can hear you? I can hear you now. Shalom, shalom. Y'all some Shabbat Thumb.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. Shalom. Let's continue with the video, King.
The last video, the Black Panther video, ended.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed, King. All right. So now I got one more for you to dig up, King. It's called 200 KKK members get killed. Something
God,
like that. See if you could dig that up real quick.
God, I got you.
Men rode out at sunset to spread fear. By morning, their horses wandered back alone, and no one dared explain why. July 18th, 1871. 200 men lined up at sunset and believed the night belonged to them. They gathered outside St. Landry Parish, Louisiana, where the land still smelled of cane and wet earth, and where freedom existed mostly in law books, kept far away. On paper, slavery had ended years earlier. In practice, power still rode on horseback, wore hoods, and spoke through ropes, whips, and fire. This wasn't a secret meeting. Wagons passed them, dogs barked. Farmhands saw the column form and turned their faces away. White robes were pulled from sacks. Rifles were checked. Horses stamped and snorted as if they sensed trouble before the men did. Someone said, "We ride fast, no talking, no stopping." Another answered, "By dawn, they'll remember who runs this parish." The men believed numbers made them safe. They believed masks made them untouchable. They believed the law would look the other way, like it always had. They called themselves night riders.
Hey, can you
Others
hear me?
had
Lock it.
God, I hear you,
Now,
Elder.
yeah, check that out. Horses. Now, y'all gotta understand. It said horses got nervous and scared, right? Um, that's something deep. That's something deep. Because when you check out, it's deep. I ain't even gonna. We know what we're gonna save that for another time. We're gonna save that for another time about the animals and how the animals can see things that you can't see before that. That's why your dog barks. That's why your cat acts up. They can see things in the spirit world sometimes before us. That's why you get in the book of Numbers when it talks about the donkey and the angel. He saw the angel before the man, and the donkey would not move because the angel was there waiting with a sword, and he saw it. So animals see things sometimes before us in the spirit. The Lord does that. You know what I mean? That's just something, that's something we can talk about another time. But go ahead, finish the video, okay?
had names for them that never made it into court records. In the years after the war, groups like this moved across the South with purpose. They burned schoolhouses where black children learned letters. They dragged men from beds for voting. They whipped women who refused to lower their eyes. Congress knew this was happening. That's why federal laws were passed to stop it. But laws don't ride at night. Men do. Earlier that week, a woman who taught reading out of a one-room cabin near Bayou Cordoblo failed to show up for class. Parents waited with children at the door until the sun climbed high and nothing happened. The cabin door stood open. Her slate was broken in two. No body was found. 2 nights later, a black man who had fought with the Union Army walked home from church wearing the same blue jacket he'd worn since the war. He didn't make it to his porch. Neighbors heard boots on boards, someone yelling, "Teach you respect." By morning, he was alive, but changed. He spoke less. He stopped wearing the jacket. Those stories traveled fast, carried in whispers along fences and church steps. They reached a local den where men decided patience had run out. Fear needed to be reset, so they chose a show of force. The riders formed just as the sun slid low, turning the fields copper and red. Torches were lit. The line stretched farther than anyone had planned. Too many men, too much confidence, too much noise for something meant to stay hidden. A farmer standing near the road later said the sound stayed with him. Hooves striking dirt in rhythm, leather creaking, metal knocking against metal. He said it sounded like work being done. They moved south, toward the swamps that fed into the Atchafalaya Basin, a place locals respected even if they didn't understand it. The ground there shifted. Water swallowed roads without warning. Trees stood thick and close, blocking the sky. "Keep tight," someone shouted. The front riders disappeared first, swallowed by shadows and tall grass. The column stretched, then stretched more. Torches flickered and went out one by one as wind picked up off the water. A young rider near the back asked, "You hear that?" "No," came the answer. "Ride." But horses began to slow. Some refused to move forward. Others pulled hard against the reins. A few men laughed it off. A few cursed. No one turned back. The sounds changed. Hooves lost their rhythm. Shouts broke the line. A splash followed by yelling, then another, then silence where noise had been seconds earlier. What happened next was never written down cleanly. That's part of the problem. At dawn, farmers along the edge of the basin found horses wandering alone. Saddles still cinched, reins dragging through mud. One horse stood trembling beside a cypress tree, eyes wide, refusing to move. By afternoon, a rifle surfaced near a bend in dark water, then another farther down. Word spread quickly, then stopped spreading at all. Men who had been seen riding the night before said they stayed home. Others claimed sickness. Some said nothing at all. And the county learned, in one long night, that terror could vanish without leaving a neat explanation. But by the time the sun set again, silence had already begun doing its work. By morning, St. Landry Parish was awake early and speaking carefully. People noticed the horses first, not all at once, but one here, another there. A bay mare grazing beside a ditch near Opelousas. A gray gelding limping along the edge of a cane field outside Washington, Louisiana. No riders in sight. Saddles still tight, as if the men had stepped down for only a moment and never climbed back up. White landowners saw the horses and closed gates. Storekeepers opened late. A blacksmith turned away work and said his tools needed fixing. Men who usually talked too much suddenly had nothing to say. In the quarters and along the back roads, people noticed something else. The night riders didn't come back. Freed families had learned to read danger long before they learned to read words. They watched faces, listened for boots, counted days between visits. When the torches failed to return, doors stayed shut. Curtains stayed pulled. Children were kept close, even during daylight. At a small church near Bayou Teche, a woman whispered to another, "You hear anything?" The answer came quick, "I hear enough." They knew better than to celebrate. Too many times before, hope had walked in loud and left in pieces. Silence felt safer. A preacher stood before his congregation and skipped the usual prayer for protection. Instead, he spoke about patience, about staying put, about surviving long enough to see another Sunday. Across the parish, white men gathered in smaller groups, asking the same questions without using names. "Anybody seen him?" "No." "What about the others?" "Don't know." They spoke like men who feared being overheard by walls. Some claimed the riders had scattered on purpose. Others said they'd gone farther south. A few insisted the whole story was exaggerated, but nobody explained the horses. A clerk at the parish courthouse began a list, then stopped halfway down the page. Ink sat heavy where names should have gone. The paper was folded and placed in a drawer that would not be opened again. A farmer near Grand Coteau later told a federal interviewer that he'd seen lights moving through the swamp that night. Not torches, something lower, closer to the water. He was asked to repeat himself. He refused. In the days that followed, the pattern held. No bodies surfaced, no graves were dug, no funerals announced. Wives wore black without explanation. Children were sent to stay with relatives for a while. Black families were watched closely, too closely. A group of white men rode past a cabin school near Prairie Laurent and slowed their horses. They didn't dismount, didn't speak, just stared. The message was clear. Silence worked both ways. Inside, a teacher told her students to keep reading, to keep their voices low, to finish before sundown. Federal attention came, as it often did, late and unsure. Two agents arrived from New Orleans, asked
This video now, he actually pulled another one, King. This video, I don't know if this is the same video. The video I was talking about, it says 200 KKK, 200 KKK never came back. So I'm thinking this might be the similar video, but it's about black people that fought the KKK, booby trapped them, and fought them when they came to destroy their community. That's the video out, the one that I was thinking about. This video right here, I don't even know how this ends up, but it's looked like it's similar. You see what I'm saying, King? Did you get that video, King? Which one is that? Does it say 200 KKK members?
Yeah. The title of the video says "A Case to Be Disturbing." Oh, a case too disturbing for Netflix. 200 KKK writers never return home. That's the
All right.
title of the video.
That's a fact. Well, that's okay. Let's continue with that.
questions at the courthouse and were told there was nothing to investigate. No complaints filed, no missing persons reported, no proof. One agent pressed harder. 200 men don't vanish. A local official smiled thin. You're counting rumors. The agents visited farms, spoke to freedmen, asked about the riders. Answers were careful, short, honest enough to stay alive. One man said, I didn't see faces. Another said, I didn't hear names. A woman added, I got children. That ended the interview. Newspapers printed small notices buried behind crop prices and shipping news. Unconfirmed disturbance. Horses found. False alarm. Each article shorter than the last. The county learned a lesson that summer, one it would pass down quietly. Violence did not always need witnesses. Survival sometimes meant agreeing not to see. The terror that once rode openly now left a different mark. Absence. Gaps. Empty chairs at tables where no one asked why. And in that absence, something shifted. Power hesitated, just a little, but the men who ordered the ride had not yet explained themselves, and that question still hung heavy over every road and waterway. The decision wasn't made in a rush. That's what makes it harder to swallow. Days before the riders gathered, men met in kitchens, barns, and back rooms of stores across St. Landry Parish. Doors were shut, windows covered, lamps kept low. Not because they feared the law, but because they didn't want witnesses they couldn't control. One man spread a hand-drawn map across a table stained with coffee and grease. He traced roads with a thick finger, stopping at cabins, churches, and a schoolhouse marked by a crooked square. They're getting bold, he said, teaching letters, talking about voting again. Another answered, we let it go on too long. A third voice cut in, calm and certain. This time we make it big. So big, nobody forgets. These men were not drifters. They owned land. Some held local office. Others ran stores or supplied credit. They understood how power worked because they lived inside it. They believed fear needed regular tending, like fences, like fields. Someone raised a concern. Federal men been sniffing around. A laugh followed. They always are. They don't stay. The plan formed piece by piece, right at dusk, split into groups once inside the...
This video right here, like I said, it's a look into what happened with the 200 KKK members that went to destroy a city and found they came back, didn't come back, right? And the town, it was kept quiet because they didn't want to let you know that blacks had ambushed them and killed them, right? This was a video that's called 200 KKK members never made it back because they was ambushed by blacks and they was killed by black men, right? They came to war against us and they was killed, but they could not let this out because if they would have let this out, this would have caused panic. See, what we, unfortunately, me personally, I got to say, we underestimated our Southern brothers too. Our Southern brothers and sisters was fighting. You had Louisiana War and different wars. They was fighting. They was not just letting the cracker do what he do. We've been taught that our Southern brothers just gave up, and our Southern brothers didn't fight. They fought. They fought. In fact, that's is why the Civil War happened, because they was killing on the plantation. It was a lot of killing on the plantation. And what Lincoln decided to say, listen, if I can make them believe that they can fight with us for freedom, and I'm going to give them freedom, then we're going to have them on their side, and I'm going to give them land and freedom, which he never did. Because after the Civil War was over, up here in New York or Philadelphia area, people don't realize that thousands of blacks was lynched. Thousands of blacks was lynched and murdered, right? So this has been even during the time of the Jack Johnson era, when Jack Johnson was the heavyweight champion of the world, and he fought and he beat white men, thousands, well, hundreds. Sometimes they say would be lynched after the Jack Johnson fight because black men, white men were so angry that we did that, right? But we fought back. Don't ever let them tell you that we didn't fight back. We fought back because what? That's in our nature. We're warriors, right? And we had no choice. Give me Leviticus 26 and 17. We had no choice. So now we're at that same time. They're acting up again. And they got this demon Trump in power, and they think they're gonna do that. Let me tell you, brothers and sisters, I'm telling you now, that thing with ICE is gonna turn over to blacks and Hispanics in this country that have citizenship. They're gonna be used to try to intimidate and come after the blacks that have citizenship and have papers. This is what the white man always do. He's a fearful man, and he's scared, as the Korean woman was saying. Well, a lot of y'all brothers and sisters that did not see that video. We're gonna revisit that video again, King, just so the brothers and sisters that came late, because that was an
God,
important part. That's one of the videos I wanted to show, right? We're gonna revisit, and we're gonna revisit them two videos again real quick before the lesson's over, right? But give me
God,
Leviticus 26 and 17.
God. This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 26, verse 17. And I will set my face against you, and ye shall be slain before your enemies. They that hate you shall reign over you, and ye shall flee when none pursueth you.
All right, so you gotta understand that you will never get the Edomite nation to love you, because that's not what the scripture said. It says, they that hate you shall reign over you. They that hate you. So we don't, when they say that Israelites push hate, we don't push hate. We push what the scripture just said. The scripture just said that they that hate you shall reign over you. This is not us. This is long before I came into the world that was there. Long before
Right.
Sabbath came into the world that was there, or Yeshaya, or Makab, or Gabar, Ash, or any one of the brothers, Micah, Allah, Ashia, any one of the brothers that teach, the brothers in Chicago, in Gabar, Nadiv, Ariyah, the king right here. Way before that, that was taught. That's in the scriptures. It says, they that hate you shall reign over you. You see what I'm saying? They that hate you shall reign over us. So we understand that this man hates us and we can't make him love us. Now, go back, King. Go back to that Korean. Let's revisit that for the brothers and sisters that did not see that came on late. I want to revisit that because that was one of my lessons in importance, right? Revisit that again, King. Go back to that Korean Asian woman video.
The King Annual Par is he should get in that video. Yeah, you know what I mean? So we
really
got
hard in the gut. And so I want people to understand that I am answering the question, what do I know? I'm not speaking for anyone. Many commenters today have pointed out how many affluent black towns have been created and destroyed throughout United States history. And most non-black people know about the Tulsa Massacre, Black Wall Street, Lake Lanier. But it was many black towns. One commenter said over 60. And it's not that some black people sometimes were able to establish a successful community that accumulated wealth. It's that black people were consistently able to go anywhere and together establish strong communities that accumulated wealth and had education systems and businesses and were thriving. And every time it happened, people destroyed them. And then as you progress through time, it becomes less acceptable to burn and flood and massacre entire towns. So again, you have the passing of the Civil Rights Act in 1964, and the United States opens the door to Asian immigration in 1965. The United States has a long history of using immigrants to get in the way of black people. And so I think that this system of using immigrant-owned businesses in black communities is designed to siphon wealth away from black communities. And another commenter asked me, why do I think that people are afraid of letting black people build their communities and accumulate wealth and to thrive? And we see it so many times. It's because they fear revenge, because they know what they have done to black people. But again, we have been told that if black people wanted revenge, it would have happened already. That is not what they want. And I think that people think that the violence and exploitation and abuse of power that they have exacted upon black people and all black, brown, indigenous, and people of color is a universal human trait, and that if anybody has that wealth and power, then they would return that evil in kind. But it's not. It is specific to, and all black people want is to be allowed to thrive and accumulate wealth and exist as other people. I find that a good way to help people who have a different lived experience than you exercise empathy for the struggles that you face that they may not be familiar with is to help them understand. And I was hoping that you could help me understand what anti-white racism looks like. Can you tell me about how you don't know where your ancestors came from because they were kidnapped and enslaved? Or how you don't know what languages they spoke, what spiritual practices they had, or what traditional knowledge that should have been your birthright was lost? Not because they were allowed to and wanted to assimilate, but because their enslavers or residential schools forced them to assimilate. Can you tell me about how your ancestors had explosives tied to them while they were building the United States railroads? And then as a show of appreciation, they
Okay, so now what this Asian woman said on the video important is that the loans, the Asian community was given loans in our own community that we couldn't get to be able to build business in our own community that we can't get. So they're able to oppress our community. So then she's saying that that's where a lot of the anger come from, because how are they able to get the loans in our community? And they actually told them that we ain't giving you loans for no other place. But if you want a loan for the black community, you could get a loan. She's admitting this right here. You could get a loan for the black community. So this is why you see the Koreans and all of that doing our hair and doing our nails and everybody, because they can get loans in our community. But if they go to another community, they can't get loans. That's the craziness about it.
Salakia.
Yeah, go ahead.
Right. So like, I'm out here in Philly, right? And every store is Asian. In the black neighborhoods, every store is Asian. They even got the Asians in the Jamaican store. Selling Jamaican, and they trying to talk Jamaican. Chinese dude trying to talk Jamaican.
Well, you know what?
Yeah,
It's
go ahead.
crazy.
You know, there's a lot of Chinese Jamaicans too. When you go to Jamaica, like them Chinese have invaded Jamaica big time. You see a lot of Chinese Jamaicans. So that
Yeah.
dude might be actual Jamaican. And you got a lot of
Yo,
Chinese Jamaican, man. Oh man, I
every
don't know. He could be a faking it
telling
out.
you,
Uh-huh.
everything in the and it's the whole Caribbean store, man. You go in there, and this Jamaican dude's working in there, but he's behind the glass
Yeah,
and
yeah, it's crazy.
making the beef patties.
That's crazy. Hey, give me Gabar Oz, give me Deuteronomy 28 and give me the seventh verse to show you that if we would have been
27.
blessed, yeah, if 28 and 7 to show you, if we would have been blessed, this would have never happened to us, man. If we would have followed the scriptures, right? Check it.
And this is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, verse 7. The Lord, the Most High, shall cause thine enemies that rise up against thee to be smitten before thy face.
Right. So our enemies was gonna be smitten before our face. Scriptures say our enemies is gonna be smitten before our face. We would see that in the ones that rise up against us. This is the power. Read on.
They shall come out against thee one way and flee before thee 7 ways.
And they was going to flee 7 ways when we get in order with the scriptures. Read.
Verse 8. The Lord shall command the blessing upon thee in thy storehouses.
See, in our storehouses. So now our storehouses, they represent our own little treasure. As I was talking about earlier, our own little treasure, creating our own little treasure among each other, where we can borrow off of each other, we can help each other. This is our own storehouses that we can build among each other. Read.
And in all that thou settest thine hand unto, and he shall bless thee in the land which the Most High thy God giveth thee.
You see that? Read on.
The Most High shall establish thee an holy people unto himself,
Come
as
on.
he have sworn unto thee. If
Come
thou
on.
shalt keep the commandments of the Most High thy
Right.
God and walk in his ways.
And walk in his ways, man. If we keep the commandments of the Lord and walked in his ways, we wouldn't be in this position. The Koreans would not be ruling over us. We would not be seeking them to get our toes and our heads and all of that type of things done. We would be in the position. Right? Read on.
Right. Verse 10. And all people of the earth shall see that thou art called by the name of the Most High, and they shall be afraid of thee.
And they was going to be afraid of us now. Right? They was really going to be afraid of us because the Lord was going to put us in the position that we're the God's men on earth, that we, the people of the Lord, be afraid of us. That's not happening, right? Read on.
And the Most High shall make thee plenteous in goods, in the fruit of thy body, and in the fruit of thy cattle, and in the fruit of thy ground, in the land which the Most High swear unto thy fathers to give thee.
Right. So we would be what? We would be good in our land and in our body, meaning the fruit of our body. The sickness would not be there that's there today if we would have kept these laws, statutes, and commandments. Read on.
The Most High shall open unto thee his good treasure, the heaven, to give the rain unto thy land in his season,
Lord would
and
have
to
put a
bless all the work of thine hand, and thou shalt lend unto many nations, and thou shalt not borrow.
he was going to be in the head. We was going to be in the position, but they would have to borrow off of us. We supposed to be in charge of that. We ain't supposed to have to go to the bank, go to their banks. We supposed to have ours, and they were supposed to borrow off of us. We were supposed to be the lead. But what happened? We broke the law, statutes, and commandments. And when we broke the law, statutes, and commandments, the Lord allowed these nations to be over us. You see what I'm saying? So that's what's happening now. That's what's happening. They in the position that we were supposed to be in the position of, man. Guess what? Guess what? All these wars that's happening, everything is to put us back into that position.
Done.
Right? The Lord is saying He's gonna allow Satan be divided against Satan. How can they stand? They have to kill their own white woman following them around, their own white people protesting now, big time. That's Satan against Satan. They killing their own white people. Hey, it is what it is. You know what I mean? That's Satan against Satan. Shooting Ukraine and killing Ukraine. That's Satan against Satan. Right? I'm putting just now telling you that America don't got more time to keep doing what they doing, taking their ships and stuff like that. He's telling you that he's gonna shoot back at America. And you never know when them nukes can hit, man. Right? Them nukes can hit a certain place. They can hit New York. I'm thinking, New York is always the target because New York is the big city. Once you hit New York, you cripple the United States because New York has what? New York has the district, the Wall Street district, which is nothing but money flowing through.
Right.
So they know if they shoot down New York and they cripple New York, you cripple America instantly. Instantly. Now there's other areas they can hit, water supplies in different areas, but I definitely see that. But you ain't got nothing to fear if you're moving in the spirit of the Lord. Give me Psalms 91. Give me Psalms 91, okay? You ain't got nothing to fear if you move it and start at the fourth verse. If you're moving in the spirit of the Lord, but believe me, the missiles will come. The missiles will come eventually, right? And not just talking, because the Lord tells you they're going to do it, right? Read.
The book of Psalms, chapter 91, verse 4. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust.
Block it, King. I think just give people a few more minutes to get it. I know you sharp. You went fast, King, but just give them a few more minutes to get it. It's Psalm 91 because it's heavy. All right. All right, King. Go ahead. Start
Book of Psalms, chapter 91, verse 4.
Come on.
Book of Psalms, chapter 91, verse 4. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler.
You see that? His truth should be thy shield and buckler. The truth should be thy shield and buckler. Come on.
Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night.
Thou should not be afraid for the terror by night. Come on.
Nor for the arrow that flieth by day.
Those are the missiles that's going to be shot down. Should not be afraid of them. Come on.
Nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness. Nor for the destruction that wasteth at noonday. A thousand shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee.
Boy, what does it say? It should not come. Read that again.
Verse 7, 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee.
It should not come nigh thee. Should not come nigh thee. You hear me? Finish it up.
Verse 8, only with thine eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward of the wicked.
Only with thy eyes should I see the rewards of the wicked. Only with thy eyes I shall see the rewards of the wicked. Right? So we got to understand, kings, we cannot
We cannot get weary. Don't be weary like your foreparents. Give me 2 Peter 3, King, and start at the second verse.
The book of 2 Peter, chapter 3, verse 2. It's the book of 2 Peter, chapter 3, verse 2. That ye may be mindful of the words which were spoken before by the holy prophets, and of the commandment of us, the apostles of the Most High and Savior.
Oh, Salakia, come on.
Verse 2. That ye may be mindful of the words which were spoken before by the holy prophets, and of the commandment of us, the apostles of the Most High and Savior.
Right, read on, King.
Knowing this first, that there shall come in the last days scoffers walking after their own lusts.
Right, there's gonna be a lot of people scoffers walking after their own lusts. You see brothers like them brothers Genesis and them. They walking after their own lusts now, making doctrines because they want to party, they want to be in the clubs, they want to do that. They still want to do that. They changed new modes, but not just them. They started from GMS. That's really GMS that caused that. So these are scoffers that's walking in their own lust. Read on.
And saying, where is the promise of his coming?
Right. So now those scoffers right there, particularly GMS, that they believe in the destruction. Those scoffers don't believe that this day is coming. That's why they saying, and they say, where's the promise of it's coming? Where's it happening? Right? Come on.
But since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of the creation.
All things continue as they were from the beginning of the creation. Come on.
For this they willingly are ignorant of, that
Come
by
on.
the word of the Most High the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of the water and in the water.
Come on.
Whereby the world that then was being overflowed with water perished.
Read on.
But the heavens and the earth, which are now by the same word, are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men.
See that? See that? See that? They ain't getting away with nothing. It's reserved for the judgment of the ungodly of men. So they ain't getting away with damn thing. Read on.
But, beloved, be not ignorant of this one thing, that one day is with the Most High as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as one day.
Right. So back in the old days, brothers didn't have total understanding of that. Right. They say that that's linking up to 2,000 years, but the calendars have been changed. So we don't know exactly, but we know we're on the verge of it. We know we're on the verge of it because Christ has been dead. About Christ has died, but he resurrect. But he left the earth about 2,000 years ago, like 30 BC, around that area. So yes, it has happened. So now we know that we're closer than what we think, right? But then the Lord tells you he should rise us up after 1,000 years or 2,000 or 30 days. We should be risen back up again. But we know that the judgment is here. It's coming. Read on.
The Most High is not slack concerning his promise.
He made a promise already. He's a man that should not lie. Scriptures tell you that in the book of Numbers. Read on.
As some men count slackness, but is long suffering to us, ward.
It's been
not
a long
willing,
time. Come on.
Right. Not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance.
Right, not willing that any shall perish, but some gotta perish. He knows that. And all shall come to repentance. Read on.
But the day of the Most High will come as a thief in the night,
Come on.
in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise,
The heavens shall pass away with a great noise. Come on.
and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The
That's
earth,
coming. That destruction is coming. Read.
the earth also, and the works that are therein shall be burnt up.
You see that? She'll be burned up. Read on.
Seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of persons ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness?
Conversation should be holy and godliness, knowing that you see it, this day is coming. Read.
Looking for and hasting unto the coming of the day of the Most High,
Come on.
wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the
Uh-huh.
elements shall melt with fervent heat.
Come on.
Nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for new heavens and a new earth, wherein dwelleth righteousness.
Right. Stop. So now the Bible said we look for a new heaven and a new earth where it dwells righteousness. Right? That's the kingdom of heaven coming in. And don't let people tell you this foolishness about the kingdom of heaven is here. The kingdom of heaven is within us. You are not knowing the scriptures. Yes, when Christ said the kingdom of heaven is within you, that means you personally being able to conquer your flesh and becoming a new creature in Christ to bring yourself to the kingdom. But the kingdom shall be taken by force. It's not with this foolishness, kingdom of heaven is within you. It's going to be taken by force, right? It's going to be destroyed. How we know that? Give me 1 Corinthians 15 and 24.
Come. This is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 24. This is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 24. Then cometh the end, when he shall have delivered up the kingdom to the Most High, even the Father, when he
Then
shall have put down all rule and all authority and power.
right. So then comes the end when he should deliver up the kingdom to the Most High, right? When he's going to deliver up the kingdom to the Most High. Read on.
For he must reign till he have put all his enemies under his feet.
Mm-hmm.
The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death.
Right. The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death. That's the last enemy that shall be destroyed is death. Read on.
For he hath put all things under his feet.
Mm-hmm.
But when he saith all things are put under him, it is manifest that he is expected, which did put all things under him.
Right. Right. Which did put all things under him. You see what I'm saying? Got it, K?
I think you dropped off for a minute.
You got that, King? What I asked you to get?
I think you dropped off. I ain't hear you.
Oh, Salaki. So, hey, brother, give me one last one. Go back. You want to go back to that? Go back to the East, the Indian, and the Indian making statements. Remember that video? That's one of the first ones you brought out. You with me, brother? Is the brother? Oh, okay.
Society for nearly 60 years. And could you tell me about the hundreds of towns that were destroyed, like the black towns and Chinatowns and Japan towns, all destroyed by the same?
The Edomite woman.
No, with the Indian speaking. The other video I asked you to get, remember? You got it? With the Edomite woman.
Oh, yeah, I'm finna grab it.
I know a part. All right.
And the troops were pulled out to go and finish off the extermination of the native peoples. Okay? Then another generation comes up in the face of changes in the U.S. economy and the need to pull black people out of the South and into the factories. Black people stood up and they waged struggle in the civil rights movement. They gave their lives. They stood up. White people stood with them. They went down from the north and stood with them. This upended Jim Crow. It was heroic that many did just unbelievably brave things. And then that was dismantled. And what did this system come back with? A new Jim Crow of mass incarceration that has ground up millions of black lives. So when I tell the story, this is science, when I tell the story of a black woman in Harlem with binoculars next to her window watching in terror every time her 12-year-old, 13-year-old son crosses the street because of what police do every day to black people. Every fucking day. When I talk about that, that is a particular that concentrates a huge reality that is defining to this country. And that's scientifically true. It's evidence-based. It's woven into the fabric of this society. It's culture, it's economics, and it's global reach. Right. And so we can debate. If you want to argue that's not scientific, bring some evidence. If you didn't hear the science, then please. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Tell me that it's a marginal thing. Tell me that to talk about that, I'm pimping off of it. I'm acknowledging reality. You want to say it's not defining to this country, that we shouldn't talk about it?
I want you to talk about it.
I am talking about it, yeah.
Okay, so just the fact that something actually happened or is true, doesn't, anything that's empirically based is not science, right? It's like saying anything that's true is a scientifically, like, it's science. It's not. So I understand.
Okay. Okay. Let me help. Oh, go ahead. Maybe he should get the mic.
I understand that your point is I want to be building arguments based on reason and rationale.
Here, take the mic just so it gets.
I understand that your point is I want to be building arguments on reason and rationale, but that doesn't mean that it's scientific, and that doesn't mean that it's false or wrong.
Okay.
I'm saying that the validity of your argument doesn't increase by throwing the word science out. Is all I'm trying to say.
Okay, so I would argue that science actually can be applied to all of reality, not just narrowly in engineering or in the natural sciences. No, this is important. What you're raising is widely felt, it's widely believed, it's widely taught, I'm sure, on this campus, that you can apply science to medicine, to nature, to the natural world. There's the hard sciences, but when you get to social reality, it's just opinions, it's experience, whatever. No. You can apply science to everything. Everything that is part of reality, which societies are, can be analyzed scientifically. All science means, in a universal sense, is it's an evidence-based process. You gather evidence about reality, and you look for the deeper causes of the patterns in reality. And you can apply that to a society, just like you can apply it to a rainforest, just like you can apply it to a virus. You can say, what is the most defining thing about any given society? What undergirds it? What are the laws and its functioning? And a scientific analysis of this society says the most defining thing about this country is it's a capitalist, imperialist mode of production. That all of our needs are met through exploitation and people laboring in conditions all over the world to get the food we need, the clothes we wear, the pens we use, the microphones. All of this is created through global networks of production. And that all of our cultures, all of our ways of living, all of our ways of relating grow out of and have to reflect and more or less correspond to that. And so when we live in a society where the exploitation and oppression of black people has been woven into that mode of production all the way down to today, it leads to the culture and the society and the kind of police terror that we have today. That's
having problems with black Americans in America. And for a long time, you know that Indians use the caste system. You know that India was once a huge country that encompassed countries such as Pakistan, and Bangladesh was still part of India. And so later on, we had Pakistan withdraw, and also later on, we also had Bangladesh draw. Now, Bangladeshi are the same people in India. Pakistanis are the same people in India. Now, Indians also moved to the United States of America, and it seems in some way, I don't know you, I'm bound to be corrected, and this video is for educational purposes only. Is it that anywhere Indians are, there is always some problem? Is that what I'm getting here? Because when they went to America, they met the black Americans, and there's a way Indians are now trying to place themselves above the black Americans. And I'm here to ask you one thing. Between the Indian and the black American, who came to America first? Yeah? Once you answer that question, you'll have known what I'm getting into.
Hey,
this
stop
video
it,
again
stop it,
is for educational purposes only.
stop it.
Now, an
Hey,
Indian also is
King,
having an argument
King,
about
King,
favoritism.
you hear me?
It thinks that the
King.
American government is
Yeah,
favoring
stop
the
it,
black
King.
people.
Stop it. Right. So yeah, so you know, and even
You just went on mute, Elder.
you hear me? Yeah, they trying
Yeah, I
to
hear
come
you
in
now.
and take the power away from the black American, like the black Americans, you know, history of fighting and going through all this was insignificant, right? This is what the Indian man is trying to do. Like, don't talk about it. Don't talk about it so much. This is craziness, right? This is the wickedness that's going on, Kings. We got to get ready, man. We got to get ready spiritually. We got to get ready financially. We got to get ready on all levels, man. This is what I would hope that brothers and sisters understand, man. How are we gonna make moves? One of the moves we making is through the music. The music is a very important thing because give me Ephesians 5:19. A lot of our people is tuned to music. A lot of our people learn through music. A lot of our people, that's they first coming with knowledge is through music. We got to use it positive. I don't want to hear people can't dance to conscious or truth music. That's a lie. Because people have always been dancing to conscious music. What you think Fight the Power was about? When they were speaking, when they was playing Fight the Power, people was dancing to that. When they played Rakim was speaking about knowledge and stuff, people created a whole dance to it. You know what I mean? Jungle Brothers, all these cats. This is where I come from. They was dancing to the music. So don't let them tell you that we can only dance to vulgar music and Soaky Red and all of that. Nah, you can dance to righteous music and you can learn through righteous music. So give me Ephesians 5:19.
This is the book of Ephesians, chapter 5, verse 19. It's the book of Ephesians, chapter 5, verse 19. Speaking to yourselves in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs.
That's the key right there.
Mm-hmm.
The key right there, spiritual song. The songs being spiritual, something that you teaching through the scriptures, teaching your people spiritually through the word, spiritual songs. That's what we got to get back to. Read on, kid.
Singing and making melody in your heart to the Most High.
Right, singing to the Most High and singing about our atrocities and our revolution and how we going to get out of it and uplifting ourselves, man, through the music. Right? That's going to be a key in this revolution. So that's why we pushing that, you know. We got to keep going, Kings. We got to keep going, right? But I got to come back, man. I got to take care of this cold. I'll be back.
Shabbat Shalom. I guess the elder had to step off for a minute.
I think he said he got a cold.
He said what?
I think he said he got a cold. Somebody he said he's sick.
Oh, he had a call.
He had to take care of his cold real quick.
Yo, Con.
Okay, con. So yeah, this is a awesome class, man, about us being patient. You know what I mean? Because Yahweh is fighting for us, and also he was showing where we fought back. And nowadays, he's talking about bringing our people back through the music, the inspiration of the music. It's always been through the song. You understand? When you go down to when we were on the fields, you understand all the revolutions and everything. They've always been embedded through the music, man. The music is something that's been powerful with us. And even when we go into the scriptures and we talk about when let's talk about Jehoshaphat. When Jehoshaphat, what happened? He brought the singers for Yahweh. You understand? Judah, and we sung, and Yahweh destroyed our enemies for us. So it's always through the spirit of the song when done righteously. All praises to the Most High. Very powerful lesson. I had something that let me see something here. When he was talking about that, I had something that he brought up briefly, but I don't think he really had it on. It was the Gullah Wars. See, a lot of people think that the so-called Black Americans did not fight. That is so untrue. The Gullah Wars was 100-year war, and we fought. It's labeled as the. Hold on, I'm gonna send this to. I'm gonna send this to you, brother. Give me a second here. I'm trying to get it together, but I want to send this to you so you could play. Um, I want you to put this up. It's a 10-minute clip, and it's a little summary of the Gullah Wars. That's another war that we fought that a lot of us don't even understand. And a lot of our brothers from the Caribbean and everything, they come up, and they say how we just pretty much took it, But, there's a lot of things that went on during that time. And we fought. We're Judah. We fought. You know what I'm saying? We're the nation of Israel. We fought. It's just that they kept these things down because just like they do with the Maccabees, like what do? They made the Maccabees outlaw. They outlawed the Maccabees in Jamaica and everything because they don't want us to have the inspiration to fight. Now hold on one second. I got it. I'm gonna put it in the WhatsApp group. Can you just go snatch that up and play that while we waiting for the elder? I just hate hearing dead space. So I'm gonna put it up in there.
Go ahead. I got you.
God. All right, I just put it up there. This is about the Gullah Wars. For those who don't, really understand it, that's when the South, right? Because we always talk about the Underground Railroad, but nobody talks about, what happened down south because they label it as what? The Seminole Indians War, right? But when you go into history, the guy on the $20 bill, what's his name? Andrew. He was the general at that time, and he was saying how it was a Negro war. You understand? So it was when Gad and Judah teamed up together and fought. It was 100-year war. You understand? And historians have linked it to them letting us free. You understand? Because we fought. We were embarrassing them with guerrilla warfare and everything. So this is another thing of fighting back that I thought would be beautiful for this class. If you have it, could you play it for me?
So I think you better put the wrong link in
Oh
in the
yeah?
West. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let me go back and get it. You're probably right. Sometimes I do that. It's the commercial.
Yeah, that's what
Okay,
it's showing.
okay, I got you, man. That's my bad. But yeah, again, we're Israel. We fought. We fought. Jamaicans fought. The so-called Jamaicans. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, our Levite brothers. The so-called Haitians. They fought. We all fought. You understand? None of us sat there and took this lightly. So this is just something else. To add to your understanding of your people. Because what kills me is how I remember I was having a conversation with a Levite family and they were sitting there. They invited me over to dinner and was showing me, their different foods and everything. This was several years ago. And was just introducing me, to, the Levite, the so-called Haitian culture. And we were speaking and I was like, well, that's my history too, you know. And they were pretty upset that I was claiming their history. I was like, so how could we be brothers in one sense, and then you want to claim this history for yourself? That's a that's for the nation, you know. So, you know, we had that discussion, and that kind of always bothered me that we separate each other, you know, through the history. We're so separate that we don't include ourselves in none of this history. But guess what? When I go down to the Caribbean islands, I see what? I see Martin Luther King. I see Malcolm X all over their walls and stuff like that, because guess what? It's our history. We are one people, one nation. So I put it up again, brother. Can you put, I got it right this time. Can you put that in there, Bubba Kashaw? And then hopefully by that time the elder will be back, close off the class or whatever. But I just hate hearing dead space.
Hey, Salakia. Hey, Macabre, if I could add to that point, can I be heard?
Bring it out, King.
Con. If I could add to that point as well, just for encouragement, you know what I'm saying, for the family and brothers and sisters to understand that we didn't lose any of those fights and wars because we were weak, right? Because it's a misconception that especially the so-called white man has and some of the other nations as if we were just weak and that's why they were able to do whatever they wanted to do to us. No, we were divided and we were basically pagans. We were basically people that were not following our law, statute, commandments anymore. And so the Lord allowed this to happen. You see what I'm saying? So even though our people did have a spirit to fight back, it was the curses of not following the commandments that would not allow us to, you see what I'm saying, to come into for the elect to be woken up at that time. You see what I'm saying? The elect has to be woken up in a certain at a certain time. And that just wasn't the time, right? And we were still going off heavy. And that's one thing I always want our people to understand. We never lost any of those wars or fights because we were weak. No, we were thrashing them. It was a spiritual reason why we did not prevail, right? Our people for centuries at that point had been following witchcraft, different religions, religion of Islam, Christian. Our people, even at that point, were idolaters. And so we're fighting back, trying to fight as a people and come together as a people, but we are divided ideologically as we are today in 2026. Even Israelites in the truth a lot of times are still fighting and divided ideologically. And how are we going to come together and fight somebody and actually prevail if we are divided ideologically, right? If I don't believe what you believe, and it's so bad to the point where I can't trust you around my family, we're not gonna walk together. You see what I'm saying? So in being divided that way, this is why we are where we are today, right? And what we have to do is continue to come back to these laws, statutes, commandments, let go of the division, right? There's gonna be some people that see things a little different or a lot different, but that is what allows us to be conquered, right? Not being on the same page with the Lord, right? And His only begotten Son, Yahweh Shah. But with that, I yield.
Excellent point, because that's what put us in our predicament in the first place. And you know, like he said, no man shall buy you, meaning no man shall save you until Yahweh shall come back. So it doesn't matter what we've done. You know what I'm saying? The Black Wall Streets and Lake Lanier's and all of these places, yeah, we were able to accomplish them, but we were doing them under other religious beliefs, other systems and everything, and not these laws, statutes, and commandments, which is ours. You understand? Which is for our God. And, you know, we shall not rise until that time, until Yahweh shall come and do it. But yeah, the more we come closer and closer we get, the more we come back to these laws, statutes, and commandments, the more things you see happening. You see all of these things happening in the news today. You know what I'm saying? Russia. You got your boy running down there snatching up the president, and now in Venezuela, and now they're uprising. Asher's uprising, and then you got him talking about we're going to take over Greenland. You got China saying, "Hey man, we got bombs. Soon as you pull the trigger, you're not going to exist anymore." And then you got Russia, jumping into this. So this thing's heating up, but that's happening because we're starting to return to the Most High. As a whole, we're starting to come back. You understand? And it says when we come back, he will start to work for us. He will spread the plagues of Egypt all over the earth, towards our enemies. Okay, so all praises to the Most High. Bring that that Gullah Wars thing out, Baba Kashaw.
Wars, also referred to by historians as the Negro War.
Hey, Shalaki, I can't hear it. I still can't hear it, King. I don't know what's going
Primarily
on with
centered around.
There we go. Come on. Start it over. There you go.
Groups, and whose descent also.
Hey, Shalaki, it's not
1739 to
playing.
1858.
There we go.
These wars, which took place in the southeast.
All right, something was going wrong with it, but bring it back. It started to play as I spoke. So bring it back, King. A lot of technical difficulties today, huh? They don't want us to get this message. Put that fight back in our people. You understand? They don't like that. Start it over, brother.
Yet critically important era in American history, spanning roughly from 1739 to 1858. These wars, which took place in the southeastern United States, were a series of resistance efforts by enslaved Africans, runaway slaves, and free blacks, alongside Native American allies, against European and American forces. The struggle primarily centered around the Gullah Geechee people, who originated from various African ethnic groups, and whose descendants would come to inhabit the coastal regions of South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. Their resilient and prolonged fight against oppression would impact the formation of Black identity in America and influence American policies regarding slavery and Native relations. The Gullah Wars were not a singular event, but rather a series of intertwined conflicts, skirmishes, and organized resistance movements. The war's roots can be traced back to the unique cultural and geographical setting in which the Gullah people found themselves. Having been forcibly brought to the southeastern colonies of British North America, they retained significant elements of their African heritage due to their relative isolation on the coastal plantations and sea islands. Their geographical position allowed for the preservation of African traditions, languages, and cultural practices, creating a distinct Gullah culture that has survived into modern times. However, this preservation of culture did not come without struggle. The Gullah people were often subject to brutal conditions on the plantations, and they faced constant repression by white planters who viewed them merely as commodities for labor. The first significant clash, often considered part of the Gullah Wars, was the Stono Rebellion of 1739 in South Carolina. This rebellion was one of the largest slave uprisings in the British colonies, with approximately 60 to 100 enslaved Africans rising up against their oppressors. The Stono Rebellion was inspired by a combination of factors, including harsh treatment, restrictive laws, and the proximity of Spanish Florida, which had offered freedom to escaped slaves. Led by an Angolan named Jimmy, the insurgents marched towards Spanish Florida, killing several whites and recruiting other enslaved people along the way. Though the rebellion was ultimately suppressed, it marked the beginning of a long struggle for freedom and foreshadowed future uprisings. In the decades that followed the Stono Rebellion, tensions continued to simmer along the southeastern coast, especially as Florida came under Spanish control. Spain's promise of freedom to runaway slaves was a strategic maneuver to destabilize the British colonies
and to create a buffer of African allies who would defend Spanish holdings from encroachment by the British. This offer attracted many Gullah people, along with other escaped slaves, to make the perilous journey southward to Florida, where they formed alliances with the Seminole tribes and other indigenous groups. These escaped slaves, known as Black Seminoles, played a crucial role in the resistance against American expansion into Florida. Over time, Black Seminoles developed their own social structures, languages, and communities, blending elements of African and Native American culture. The mixed African and Native communities not only provided refuge for runaway slaves, but also evolved into powerful, autonomous societies that openly defied American control. This alliance would be tested repeatedly as the U.S. government sought to extend its borders, enforce slavery, and quash any semblance of Black autonomy.
The volume's down again, bro.
The Gullah Wars gained momentum with the establishment of the Negro Fort on the Apalachicola River in 1815. Following the War of 1812, the British, in their opposition to the U.S., built this fort in Spanish Florida and armed it with cannons and supplies, leaving it in the hands of the Black Seminoles. The fort quickly became a symbol of Black resistance and a focal point for those seeking freedom from slavery. By 1816, it housed hundreds of Black Seminoles and slaves, creating a formidable stronghold that posed a direct threat to the institutions in the United States that could inspire further. In July 1816, the U.S. Army, in conjunction with local militias, launched an assault on the fort. After an intense confrontation, American forces fired a heated cannonball into the fort's ammunition supply, causing an explosion that killed nearly all of its occupants. The destruction of the Negro Fort was a devastating blow to the Black Seminole resistance, but it did not end the Gullah Wars. Instead, it fueled further resentment and hardened the resolve of Black Seminoles and their native allies to continue fighting for their freedom. The destruction of the Negro Fort marked the beginning of a series of conflicts known as the Seminole War. Seminole was
Okay, the
triggered by
volume's
continuing
down again.
deeper into the Florida swamps. United States in the region as a subject of 1742, often viewed as one of the most costly and prolonged conflicts in U.S. history, saw an escalation in the resistance by Black Seminoles and Gullah fighters. Led by figures such as John Horse, who emerged as a prominent leader among the Black Seminoles, the resistance forces launched against U.S. troops. They used the dense Florida swamps to their advantage, employing hit-and-run tactics that frustrated American forces and significant casualties. The rugged terrain and subtropical climate made it difficult for the U.S. Army to fully subdue the Black Seminoles and Seminoles, leading to a protracted and costly war that sapped American resources. The Gullah resistance during the Second Seminole War was marked by both military prowess and strategic alliances. Black Seminoles, drawing on their African martial traditions and adapting to the local environment, demonstrated exceptional resilience and adaptability. The war dragged on for years, with Black Seminoles and their allies refusing to surrender. American forces, faced with mounting casualties and the difficulty of sustaining a prolonged campaign, eventually resorted to tactics that included capture Black Seminoles if they agreed to relocate to Indian Territory in present-day Oklahoma. This promise of freedom was a controversial and, in many cases, deceptive tactic, as the U.S. government did not always honor these assurances, and many black Seminoles faced continued threats to their autonomy, even after relocation. The end of the Second Seminole War did not mark the end of the Gullah Wars or the Black Seminole Resistance. Many black Seminoles who were relocated to Indian Territory found themselves in a precarious position as they continued to face hostility from both the federal government and certain factions within Native American tribes who supported slavery. Despite these challenges, black Seminoles maintained their distinct culture and sense of community, preserving their autonomy as much as possible in a hostile environment. Some black Seminoles, dissatisfied with the conditions in Indian Territory, eventually migrated further westward, including a group that traveled to Mexico in search of greater freedom and security. Their migration to Mexico represents a testament to their enduring spirit and their refusal to accept subjugation. The Gullah Wars concluded in 1858 with the final removal of the majority of black Seminoles from Florida, marking the end of a century-long struggle that had profound implications for the United States. The wars challenged the foundations of slavery, influenced U.S. policies regarding Native American territories, and exposed the vulnerabilities of a nation built on racial inequality and territorial expansion. The Gullah Wars demonstrated the tenacity and resilience of African and African-descended people in the face of systemic oppression, leaving an indelible mark on the history of black resistance in America. In examining the legacy of the Gullah Wars, it is crucial to acknowledge the impact that these conflicts had on American history. The wars represented one of the earliest and most sustained resistance movements against slavery in the United States. The fact that the Gullah Wars spanned more than a century highlights the persistent determination of the Gullah people and their allies to resist subjugation and fight for freedom. Their struggle was not merely a fight for personal liberty, but a broader resistance against a system that sought to dehumanize and exploit them. The Gullah Wars are a testament to the agency and resilience of African-descended people and their capacity to forge alliances across cultural and ethnic lines in the pursuit of justice. Despite the significance of the Gullah Wars, they remain largely underrepresented in mainstream American history. This omission reflects broader patterns of erasing or marginalizing the contributions of Black and Indigenous people in the narrative of American progress. By bringing attention to the Gullah Wars, historians and scholars have the opportunity to shed light on the complexities of American history and to honor the legacy of those who resisted oppression. The story of the Gullah Wars is not just a story of conflict. It is a story of survival, adaptation, and the unyielding pursuit of freedom.
God, all praises. Yeah, so for those who didn't know anything about the Gullah Wars, that's something that you should look up into further, because the Gullah Geechees, um, they were in a big fight. We were escaping slavery and going into the South. We always talk about the Underground Railroad to the north, but nobody talks about how we would go to the South and be free men, the Maroons, as they called us, the runaway slaves, and we would fight. We would fight, as you saw when they, um, after they blew up the fort, we went into a series of guerrilla warfare, and we were whooping their butts. You understand what I'm saying? So, for those who didn't know, yes, Judah fought. Your brothers didn't just take it. We fought, and we fought for a century long. And there's many more um, instances, like the brothers in Louisiana. When they fought, they wanted to take over the whole state of Louisiana, and they actually have monuments and everything put up down there for that war, that rebellion. So there's been so many rebellions that they've hidden from us to keep that Maccabean spirit from us. You understand? That Maccabee spirit, they keep it so it doesn't rise. So they teach us, they keep us cool with Christianity, turn the other cheek, and then they teach us, um, or they hide the histories of us fighting back. So all praise to Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Elder Tarah, if you're here, we're going to turn it back over to you. Elder Tarah, you there? Is Elder Zabak here? Any of the elders here? Hold on, let me see if I can get the elder on the phone. Hold on. Let me see if this ends the class. Hey, Shalom, can you hear me?
Hey, Shalom, Shalom. Yeah,
Shalom, Kasadio.
yeah, it's Ariel, Shalom, family. How about you, show the time?
Oh, Ariel, Shalom. All right, Shalom, King.
Yeah, Khan. I'm still waiting to see what's going on with Elder Tarah. I doubt he's coming back on. Let me try to see if I can call him real quick. If he's not, we'll just end the class and just get ready for the Zoom meeting.
Yeah, I think it's time to shut it down and bring the elder Zabak in. I don't think the elder's coming back either.
Right. All right, let's just shut it. I don't think he's coming back on. Hold on.
But this was definitely a beautiful lesson. I hope it inspired everybody, you know. It inspires me to keep the fight going on. And then when I look and I see all of these prophecies coming to pass, man, it's just beautiful, you know, to see, you know. All we got to do is hang in there, Yashabala. You know, I know we got a lot going on within our lives, and then in Israel, we got a lot of you know, unnecessary things
Shalom, family. Can you
coming
hear me?
through. Khan, we can hear you. Go ahead, King.
Yeah, I just spoke with Elder Tarah. Yeah, we're just gonna shut it down and just get ready for the meeting.
Khan, go ahead and shut it down, King. All praises.
All praises, family. Definitely a beautiful lesson from the elder. And I also, if y'all check my Facebook or even just check on YouTube, HY class, I'll repost the 3 hour documentary on a video that he was bringing out. And then also I have a playlist on it as well. It'll be on HY class. It'll be called Elder Tarah's Lesson. And through that playlist, y'all can watch through the videos that he put out. Y'all can go over it again. Khan?
Gone.
Khan. In the meantime, yeah, we're gonna shut down the YouTube live stream right now, and then all HOR members, brothers and sisters, we'll tune into the Zoom meeting for the mandatory Zoom meeting. All right, family. Shalom. Kwame Shalom. So we just shutting down the YouTube live stream. That's it. So everybody that's still on the Zoom meeting, this is when we'll have the meeting. Let me just shut it down real quick.